And we're live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Q&A. Today we're going to be talking about you just got to do it, man. Time to sell all of your investments? Question mark. Maybe, maybe not. We'll talk about that in today's video. Obviously, it's an important question. As to the relevancy of it, we'll find out. But before we jump into it, as always, if you want to help out the channel, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. And then if you're interested in getting access to Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and much more at wholesale prices, make sure to check out the wholesale program. Link down in the description below for that. And then if you want to be a part of the community, same with the Discord down in the description below. But before we jump into it and talk about today's topic, Alex, at this point, should we just tell people, like, guys, why do we expect us to actually show up at noon? We start the countdown at noon. We don't go live at noon. Come on, man. We're always talking at least another 10 minutes when we talk about when we're going to actually start the video.
Well, in all fairness, I mean, I was like sitting in here at like 1 o'clock and Eli's just always late.
Oh, shut up. I called you an hour before stream. You're like, sorry, I'm busy. I'll talk to you in half an hour. I'm driving home. Get out of here, bro. Throw me under the bus like that. I've been ready, man. I've been ready to roll.
All right, let's call it what it is. It's time to sell out. We need to put our money back in index funds.
We're selling out, dude. I love selling out. Well, actually, you would be better. You know more about that than me.
True. I'm pretty much a sellout master. And so, yeah, guys, like index funds, real estate, pretty much anywhere that's safe. Gold, Bitcoin. You don't want to be in the Pokemon hobby right now.
I'm into Beanie Babies lately. It's kind of my biggest thing. I've been pushing a lot more personally.
I could see that.
I think there's a resurgence coming.
See, Beanie Babies is nice because they gave you a little book and it basically told you what they were going to be worth. And so you knew how long to hold before they appreciated. It was a lot better than this hobby where you got to kind of guess. Stay
with me now. Vintage Zoo Pals. Just saying. Just think about it. If you know, you know. But
you joke right now. One of the booths at Collecticon this weekend was Gary V's V Friends.
Gary V's V Friends? That's wild.
I was hoping Gary would be there, but he did not show.
You want to talk a little bit about what your experience was on Collecticon and kind of use that as a segue into today's topic?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. I mean, obviously, I'm just one guy and, talking to other people, whether they're vendors or just, whatever they were looking for, it could be a different take. But here's a few things I saw. So alt arts, trainer galleries were in very high supply. Pretty much every booth that was selling them had a plethora of copies. I mean, I don't know, 3 to 10 copies of each, whether they be raw or if they were selling slabs, they had the slabs. I was at a couple different booths where, I was talking to the vendor and then people would come up wanting to trade. And so I would just kind of fade to the background and let them talk. And a couple of people were like, hey, I'd like to take these, but I'm not taking any more alt arts right now. I have too many as it is. I'm trying to sell what I have. And so it does seem like obviously that market slowed down. We know that. We're seeing 20-30% dips across the board on alt arts and trainer galleries pretty much. And it was definitely showing at Collecticon. What was selling, they were selling. Like, it's not like they weren't selling. They were selling too. It's just they were in high supply. A lot of like the two extremes were selling, right? So like the lower end singles, like stuff you'd find like maybe $20 or less. A lot of them were in binders. Saw a lot of those moving, right? And then like the high end stuff, like high end boxes, high end packs, high end slabs, like, 1,000 plus. I saw a lot of those deals being done, like walking by tables and just seeing hundreds counted out. And so a lot of those deals were being done. A lot of like I would say mid-range, like maybe $100 to $1,000 stuff. I saw less deals being done on those like $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 cards than I did on the other stuff. So that was kind of the takeaway I had from Collecticon.
Was there a deal that you made while you're at Collecticon?
Man, I picked up a lot of gradable singles. That was kind of my thing. I went looking for obviously singles that are hard to find in the wild to grade, XY, Sun and Moon type stuff where it's really hard to find on TCG Player, eBay, near mint. So I look for those kind of things at shows. And then also like Scarlet Violet era IRs were really hard to grade cards. So I did pick up a ton of cards. I spent, I don't know, 4 to 5. I think I spent over $4,000 on singles.
Wow.
So
What, any sort of notable pickups worth mentioning?
yeah, I picked up the Latios, so I'm going for that as a 10.
Oh man, and you think it's gonna get it?
Yeah, I really do. It looks perfect. I mean, it could even like Beckett pristine maybe. But so I got that. I got like the Magikarp Wailord. I picked up a Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends. So it's pretty good stuff.
Like
But
the test tube one?
the what? Yeah, the Mewtwo. But one other thing I wanted to say is XY Sun and Moon boxes, guys, are scarce. I expected to at least see someone at the show. I was wanting to pick some up for breaks, maybe. A handful of tables, 2, 3, 4 tables of the whole Collecticon, which there's hundreds of tables, had XY Sun and Moon era boxes. And the ones that did had very few of them, and they were not negotiating. And so very, very scarce market when it comes to these older booster boxes. I think they're more scarce than people realize. And it just begs the question, what are these Sword and Shield boxes going to look like in another 3, 4, 5 years when they get to the age of some of these boxes? So something to think about. You know, as these things age, they get a lot less plentiful as people think they're going to be.
That's definitely interesting. I mean, I myself have obviously never gone to an event. I think I've talked about that, always wanting to go to one. So it'll definitely be a fun experience to see if this is something that maybe is more prevalent because of where we are in the hobby right now. Because I mean, I'll talk kind of from my perspective on what you just mentioned, as well as, talking about where we are. So as you're aware, I'm sitting on a lot of Lost Origin booster boxes, and I'm sitting on a pretty decent amount of Brilliant. Now, we've obviously seen the prices of those come down because of that tiny resupply that we got. With that being said, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, hey, right now, with the prices going down slightly, I don't see this as something I'm concerned of. I see this as almost like a doubling down opportunity, and I'm not going to be selling whatsoever. And so for me, I almost wonder if that's kind of the sentiment a lot of people are feeling with more vintage stuff, because there is an obvious slowdown in the hobby. Like, there's still demand, but let's be real here. Like, people have not been taking well to Scarlet and Violet for the most part. And so I feel like it's completely possible that because the demand is starting to dwindle and there has been kind of a slowdown in the hobby overall, that a lot of people are taking their vintage product that might potentially be moving down and saying, you know what, I don't want to sell it. Prices are not moving, prices are going down. And that's kind of one of the reasons why they're not listing it. Now, I could be wrong on that. It could be really that there is a lot of scarcity to kind of come with it. Because, I mean, as you know from the live stream that you had and you talked to Cool Trainer Ryan, and he was saying he knows of a whale that has so much, you got to wonder, like, is that something that is evident of the market as a whole, and that, or is that one person being an overrepresentation of the reality of how much is out there? I don't know. It's just something I feel like we're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously there's more Sword and Shield than there was Sun and Moon. There's more Sun and Moon than there was XY. But I mean, I know you were around. You remember the rhetoric around like even Sun and Moon eras that, oh, this stuff is so overprinted now. Like, people forget that was the same rhetoric we heard about Sword and Shield on why things wouldn't move up, especially when Sun and Moon sets had their reprints, right? And you know, now it's like you can't find the boxes. Like, I can't find them. I mean, I go to my local card shops, they don't have the boxes. I go to gigantic national conventions like this, barely anyone there has the boxes. I mean, at some point, it's just like, so all these people that have all these boxes, they're just gonna sit on them forever. Evolutions goes from $80 a box to $1,000, and it still doesn't bring everyone out of the woodwork to sell everything. Like, at some point, you have to ask yourself, are all these stories true, or there's not as much as people act like? Which one is it, right?
Yeah, and I know for a fact that Evolutions is one that had an insane amount available in terms of the print. Like, there was so much Evolutions available. And so when the price did come down from 1,000 down to like 600, I mean, obviously it's gone up since then. There was a lot of people that were like, you know what? Like, Evolutions is going to be an item that I am just not going to sell. Like, and it was still very scarce to see. And you're just like, there's no way, man, that it's this scarce. I mean, you've got people like Rudy and you've got other people that bought a lot of older, XY, I guess we'll call it vintage. I mean, just older XY era product. And it ended up being the result of them just being unable to sell it at the time. And so for me, I would just like to believe that there is still quite a bit out there. It's just we're in the market where people don't feel like they're going to extract the most value out of it. So they'd much rather hold on to it rather than try and sell it in a down market right now.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of a down market, right? I, I think most people who understand how markets work knew this was coming. I mean, I knew it was coming. I mean, I was saying it for the last few months. I said, look, no one knows where the top's going to be, right? The top could be here, it could be here, it could be here. No one knows where that top's going to be. But what we do know is when it reaches that top, it is going to, these cards, these boxes, they are going to give some back usually, or at least go stagnant before they have another run. And so one of the biggest things we're hearing right now is people are really calling out these alt arts and these trainer galleries for losing tons of value. I mean, some of them are literally losing, between 20 to 40% of their value. And the thing to remember is they're losing that amount if you take the tip top, right? If you take like the top sales or take the top of the pointy TCG player charts, and then you see what they're selling for now, you can say, Alex, it's crashed. It's down 40%. What I always like to say is, well, what was it selling for before the run up, right? That's what you need to look for. So it's like a random card, like, the one of the big crashes has been the Umbreon VMAX from Brilliant Stars. And if you guys look that card up 3 months ago, that was a $21 card. Now it ran up to over $60, and now you could say it's selling for like the mid 30s. So it crashed, 40%, whatever that is. So it crashed, it already crashed. But at the same time, it's still almost double what it was 3 months ago. And that's what you guys have to remember is when these, have their spikes and they have their cool offs, people take profits, they're usually going to settle at a much higher high. And as long as you're holding through the long term, you're still going to do very well. Like, yeah, you could try to catch the bottoms and catch the tops. Most people can't do that. And so what you have to remember is these are still performing very well for a 3-month period.
So in terms of now taking a different approach and looking at less of the sealed product, right? And now more of the singles. We've obviously seen a correction in some of the singles price within LO, within Brilliant in particular. But of course, we've seen it in other Sword and Shield era sets. How are you going about targeting that? Are you targeting specifically the Brilliant and the LO because we know there was that small resupply? And so like the trainer gallery cards, for example, have been kind of dropping quite a bit, or are you just targeting it all or staying away from it? What's kind of your take on what's going on with the price movements? And if there's any in particular you want to point out?
No, I'm on board with that. Yeah, Brilliant and LO are two of the main ones that are moving down as far as sealed product. Guys, you can pull up, like if you want to do research for yourselves, just go to pricecharting.com. You can pull up any modern box you want, XY, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, take your pick, and just look at how they've performed over time. They're basically almost, I think all of them are just like steady lines, up and to the right, right? And, they go through times of like little ups and downs. They go through times of stagnation, times of growth, more times of stagnation, but they rise in value over time. The only time we see sealed booster boxes really drop is when, like Eli said, we get reprints, we get restocks, and more supplies introduced to the market. And so sets like Astral, sets like Silver, sets like Battle Styles, Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, we're not seeing those take major dips or anything. They're going kind of stagnant. They're not seeing intense growth anymore, but they're holding their value, even though the cards in those might be going down. So a lot of those trainer galleries, a lot of those alt arts are falling in price, but the sealed product isn't. So I wouldn't expect the other boxes to. It's just Brilliant and Lost. We had that restock, and so it's just normal ebbs and flow of the market.
I mean, here's how I look at it. If it's not on my distributor page, then I don't have any concern. That's just it. I mean, if it's on distro page, that's one thing, but if it's not on my distributor's page, then I'm not worried about it because that's the overall supply. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from distributors, right? And so if that's not going to be distributed, then it's not something of concern. I mean, I remember like a week or two ago, my distributor was doing a Cyrus and Clara bundle where like if you bought a certain amount of them, then you would get like a decent discount, and you were basically paying $2.85 a pack for like Fusion, Brilliant, and Silver Tempest, and then a couple Astral. And so it was a good Sword and Shield selection. And, there were a couple of people that jumped on top of that deal, but a lot of people missed out. And, whether it's because they didn't want to pick it up or whatever reason, anyway, but it since sold out. And right now, on like one of our main distros, the only available product that I saw left, you were paying like above $3 for a Sword and Shield era pack to get access to it. Now, obviously, there's still like Silver Tempest ETBs are still available for the most part, but if we're talking about like older Sword and Shield era alternate art sets like Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Fusion, Evolving, like none of these sets are available at all unless you're opening miscellaneous product, and most of that miscellaneous product is completely gone and you're paying like above $3 a pack. So I feel like we have to kind of look at it and anticipate that if you do see corrections in a lot of alternate arts for these sets, you shouldn't see it as something that is going to be of real concern long term, because there just isn't that product real readily available. I mean, heck, you've got Safari Zone right now putting out a buy list where they're willing to buy Evolving Skies packs for $15 in exchange for store credit, which is insane in my opinion. Like that is, I mean, obviously Evolving is now above $12 on TCG Player, but still a $3 premium. Like they obviously are kind of in the same thought process where, hey, we're going to just keep seeing Sword and Shield go up. And so you might hate paying $3 a pack, but ultimately at the end of the day, this is kind of what you're going to have to pick it up at as things continue to go up. So yeah, when I look at singles making correction plays, I just look at it as, once again, just another opportunity to kind of double down as Sword and Shield continues to go more and more out of rotation.
Yeah, it's great for content creators, like, and I don't fault anyone. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's good content. You can post the charts like we did, to just for the meme, like post the charts going down and act like everything's crashing. And, people will take those really small snippets of the charts and show how they're going down and say, crashing, told you this was going to happen, all that stuff.
What?
But
we don't do that.
yeah, whenever you like, expand the chart out, you can see, oh, wow, a lot of these alt arts and a lot of these, trainer galleries, if you go back to where you could have bought them for 3 months ago, you're still up 50, 100% on your money on most of them. And so that's what you need to concern yourself with, is the long term. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have fun and enjoy the content and just, kind of, wrap it up and get in there and scrap with people, have fun, but just don't get too like serious or worked up about it. There's nothing crashing. It's just correcting because they went up too high. It's like once things are undervalued and they like kind of get pushed up to properly valued, people see that, and then they get that over exuberance, and it pushes them like higher than they actually should be, and then they cool off back to probably the regular market price where they should have been, the properly valued state. And so that's kind of what we're seeing right now. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. And kind of talking a little bit more on the speculative side, right, of things. Obviously, we kind of have our piece being said about where our thoughts are with Sword and Shield. Moving forward with Scarlet and Violet, we know we're going to be getting a Team Rocket set from the looks of it. We know that we're going to be getting, SV7, I don't know if I want to say it's going to be, a necessary like crystal set, whatever you want to call it. It looks like they're trying to like use Terra typing in a way where we're like using crystal Pokemon, but it hasn't been shown yet if they're talking like crystal Pokemon from back in like the e-reader or like the Skyridge era, or if we're talking like crystal Pokemon and playing more on Terra typing, who knows? Obviously we're going to get a dragon set, and then kind of what you brought to my attention today, it looks like there's potential leaks of a new high class set that's going to come out for EVs. I don't know. Obviously you're the one that showed me the link. We'll have to kind of do a little bit more deep, of a deep dive into that and see what it looks like. But I don't know. I guess talking about second halves, most of these quote unquote leaks, are they it seems like a lot of them are going to come to fruition. How could this change that landscape or outlook of Scarlet and Violet, I guess?
I don't know, man. I'm just like kind of tired of the way this hobby works. Like, people have always looked forward to the next set, but nowadays people are just getting so far ahead of themselves. I talked about this before. They're just getting so far ahead of themselves. I mean, it's like, think of all the things they're looking for now. They're waiting for this Dragon set that's going to be coming out. They're waiting for Team Rocket. Now they're waiting for this Eevee set. Like, people are so far removed from the here and now. And I think it forces people to miss out on so much. Like, guys, there's so much going on. There's plays in Sword and Shield. There's plays in Sun and Moon. There's plays in XY. There's tons of plays in early Scarlet Violet right now. There are so many things that are good pickups, good flips, good grades, good sealed product purchases. And people they're missing out because they have this constant view of the future. And what happens is the future gets here and they don't even realize, they don't even accept it for what it is. That they're already looking for the next thing in the future. And so I would just caution everyone to be careful about always looking forward. Because here's the thing, like Eli said, high class set. There's a possibility that Pokemon just like screws English like it always does. And they might make Team Rocket a specialty set. They might make the Evolution set a specialty set. And both those might not perform that well because they're just specialty sets. And so I would focus on the here and now, maybe look a set or in the future or so if you want to like speculate. But I think there's a lot going on right now in the hobby to worry about what could happen or might happen, 6 months, a year from now.
I know we're not on the section of taking questions yet, but I kind of wanted to use this as something worth talking about. One person was asking, what sets are you guys buying up right now? Do you want to answer that or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll answer it. Like, it's nothing in particular. I am making some of the sealed plays on XY. Just because we're still speculating on the whole megas thing. I've been seeing a lot of the singles in XY go up a good amount. Like, we've been seeing a lot of the PSA cards disappear from the market. A lot of the near mint prices on TCG Player are rising, but I've noticed a lot of the sealed XY boxes haven't had major spikes with those. So I'm just kind of speculating in that way. I've been picking up some more XY boxes when I see good prices. And then, yeah, obviously with Scarlet and Violet, I've always just been under the belief that if you can find boxes in the 80s or the low 90s, you're probably going to be pretty insulated from if it gets a reprint or if it doesn't. And I know everyone's under this impression that is put out online and it's repeated in the discords and everyone just kind of takes it as truth of this, everything gets a reprint. It's not true. Everything doesn't always get a reprint and everything doesn't always get the same size reprints. We've talked about it last week. We're 8 sets in, guys. We are 8 sets in Scarlet and Violet. And Scarlet Violet base is the only thing that's gotten a reprint. We're going on the 9th set. People are looking forward to these newer sets. You need to be prepared for a very real possibility that not every single set is going to get a reprint. And so my thought process is, if I can buy boxes in the 80s and low 90s and it gets a reprint, odds are they're not going to fall much lower than that. So I'm still good. If it doesn't get a reprint, those are probably going to shoot up pretty good and they're going to be in the 150s, area. And you're going to, almost double your money, if not 80% your money, because you got in early. So that's what I'm doing right now. The latest I picked up are, I picked up a bunch of cases of Paradox Rift lately because they were really cheap. Temporal, if you can find it, just because Temporal has been doing great. And then Twilight Masquerade, just because I like the Temporal Forces Twilight Masquerade hit rates. And I think it's going to help those sets going forward. So that's what I've been picking up. Paldea Eval is great, but it's really expensive right now.
I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be surprising in terms of what I'm picking up. For Pokemon in particular, the answer is basically nothing right now. And that's, here's my thing, man, is there's always free tendy plays during the holiday season. It's not the holiday season. If anything, like right now is usually the time to sell. Now, granted, if something is thrown my way with my distributors and it's worth like picking up, then that's one thing. Like, like if I'm able to possibly get some of the LO or Brilliant, like one of our distros was selling it for 175 for LO, it might be worth a pickup. But like for me, other than that, I'm not really picking anything up. I will mention this just, because it could be of relevant news, but I highly doubt it. My distributor did just throw me a bundle deal today, actually, for some Paldean Fates product. It'll be interesting to see what that ends up resulting. I'll have to throw it in the wholesale program, but it's 2 Silver Tempest build and battle stadiums for one display of booster bundles of Paldean Fates at wholesale, which right now, that's really, really good deal considering Silver Tempest product is running thin, and then also the price in which the market is selling currently for the Paldean Fates. But I mean, this is like an exclusive thing that's only available directly with distro. This isn't like going to a market thing. So it's not necessarily of relevance mentioning other than, hey, watch out if Paldean Fates product goes down. This is why. Um, so for me, I'm just basically waiting and seeing, hey, sure, there's a lot of opportunities right now in terms of like picking up some Scarlet and Violet booster boxes at a decent price. And like Alex is saying, there's no guarantee that every single set is going to get a reprint. We've seen many instances in which sets have not gotten reprints when we thought they were going to. And ultimately, if there is a big reprint that's going to happen in my mind for Scarlet and Violet, that's going to be around the holiday season because that's when they just love to do it. And so for me, I look at this as more or less a time in which I am not really fundamentally focusing on picking up a lot of sealed stuff because the scarcity of product that is available. I mean, we're literally just watching stuff dry up on distro pages.
Yeah,
Now,
what do you make of the kind of? There's been like a lot of talk around the community about Scarlet and Violet drying up a distribution.
I think it's complete BS. I saw, okay, I won't target who it is in particular, but people know. There was someone that made a post basically like saying like, if you've noticed, like Scarlet and Violet product has been drying up from the market, and then they try and said like, look at the market price, blah 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 blah. What does this mean? It means this is your last chance. Come pick it up. That individual who made that post, it felt like they also were trying to get rid of their own Scarlet and Violet product that they had. So I don't want to like directly kind of call them out, but on one of my distros in particular, I immediately went and checked, and I was like, how many booster boxes are available? Because I can see on some distro pages like the exact quantity of what's available. For Paradox with one of my distros, there's 15,000 booster boxes available with one of my distros. I have 4 or 5 distros. Like, let's be real here. If that's one distro, you think there isn't a ton of Paradox with other distros. And then same thing goes with Temporal, which Temporal is supposed to be so far the best booster box set, so far. I mean, some people obviously would argue Paldea Evolved, which would be me. I would argue that. But people love Temporal, right? That same distro has at least 1,500.
Now, when you say they have that many, like, what price can you get them at your price you can normally get boxes for?
They're selling at readily available price of what wholesale cost is. They're not upcharging. I think they're actually selling Paradox for like 88 or 89, and that's without doing a distro deal. Because how it works
regular
is
wholesale price.
Regular wholesale price is $95.50, but recently distro has been trying to lower the price down to $93.50 because who would have guessed it? Scarlet and Violet's not selling as well. But in terms of most of the time, if you're wanting to get like that $88 price that we have, you have to pick up a large amount for pre-orders, and then you also have to have negotiated it with your distributor. But if you see that deal available on distro just straight up without having to pick up like a set amount, that means they're like just trying to dump the product. Like that's just literally them trying to get rid of it. So they're selling
that plays into the reprint argument. Like people like thinking everything's going to get reprinted. Guys, if Pokemon is talking to the distributors and they're telling them we have 15,000 of these boxes left and they're not selling, Pokemon's probably not going to reprint that set.
I mean, it's hard to say because, man, you never really know, man. It's so hard because I was not anticipating there to be a reprint for Battle Styles because I remember Battle Styles was selling for 110 and it was like it had dipped down to sub $100 when it got, because okay, so back up a little bit. For those of you guys that don't know or were not a part of COVID Pokemon, because of supply chain issues, they started pushing things out in waves. Typically, most sets had a first, second, and sometimes a third wave. So with Battle Styles, it had its initial wave where the boxes were selling for 150, and then when the second wave came out several months later, it then dropped the price down to like 120, and then when it got its third wave, it brought the price down to sub $100. It was in the like 90s, like low 90s. And so for me, watching it go from low 90s to like 110 over like a 3-4 month period, I was like, okay, 90 seems like a phenomenal opportunity to pick up. 110 now seems still like a good opportunity considering the market price of most of booster box within the like Sword Shield era. I don't see them reprinting it. But what did they do? They still reprinted it, and it dropped all the way down into the mid 70s market price. So for me, it's like, although I love to say like, oh, they're not going to reprint Paradox, there's still so much available on distro. Why is it exactly that Scarlet and Violet is the one booster box that got a reprint so far, considering it's the one that was already like at 100 or slightly below $100 market price, and then of course got driven into the 80s, not only
Well,
on market but also on distro pages.
well, remember though, when Scarlet Violet got released and that new MSRP was a thing, they were selling really high out of the gate.
Yes, that is true, but I mean that doesn't, I guess, go to the point that I'm making, which was, I mean, so was Battle Styles. But once the price corrected for Battle Styles, once the price corrected for Scarlet and Violet, and things were cheap, it then at that point, in my mind at least, made sense for them not to reprint it because it was already at an affordable price, right? Like if you're seeing Scarlet and Violet booster for base set selling for like, $100 to like $95 market, you're thinking, okay, that's a pretty, I mean, that's wholesale. That's basically wholesale, right? So for me, for them to say, yeah, we're going to print more, in my mind, at least how I looked at it, is I said, they're doing this because they know that right now, Scarlet and Violet base is a set people are going to want for the competitive nature of the set because it has a lot of competitive cards. Let's just print it one last time to get competitive cards cheap. And you can see that with nest balls. Nest balls used to be going for $1.50 and now they're selling for like 18 cents. So I think that's kind of what my thought process, or at least the thought process I'm thinking as to why they did it. It's speculative. So I don't think Scarlet and Violet base is going to get another print. But Paradox is one where I look at how much is available on distro, and I would like to say that, oh yeah, it's totally like not possible that, they're going to reprint it, but it's also hard to say, because you can look at it and say, oh, well, it's, Paradox is a different situation because it's not Scarlet and Violet base where it has all those competitive cards, but also Paradox does have some competitive cards in the market. I mean, if you just look at some of the most expensive cards that are available right now, I'm trying to think of the name of the card itself.
I mean, Paradox is a strong set. I mean, it's got like the second highest amount of hits.
Earthen Vessel. Sorry, there's a card right now. It's a uncommon card, if I'm correct, right? Yep.
Yes,
it's an uncommon card, Earthen Vessel. It is selling for $4 right now. I don't know if there's another set that is selling a uncommon card for $4. I know that obviously Iono, but they pushed the Iono and it dumped when they came out with the Iono premium collection, and they came out with another Iono and Paldean Fate. So I see it being an argument where they could print it because there are some quote unquote expensive, but who knows? Maybe they start throwing it in trainer toolkits and then they don't reprint it. I mean, there's so much that could or could not happen. It's really hard to say. But I guess the ultimate takeaway and kind of like bringing it back to the whole point of this part of the discussion is for the sentiment around like, oh, Scarlet and Violet product, like it's starting to thin out. I'm looking at distro pages, and the only product that is quote unquote thinning out right now, it would be just Paldea Evolved. And you're paying above wholesale for that one because it's thinning out. But other than that, Obsidian is readily available. Paradox is readily available. Temporal is readily available. Masquerade is readily available for now. Surprisingly enough, it does look like that might actually be one that's going to go out faster than the other sets because, I mean, let's look at the Greninja and how that's performing right now. So I don't know. There's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of information that's being spread around about the true nature of what's available at distro for Scarlet Violet product.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if it's misinformation when it comes to the sets. It's more of like people I don't know, like some people share their opinions, whether they be YouTubers or not, and then it just kind of gets sloshed around and everyone kind of buys in or agrees to like some random like opinion. Like Twilight Masquerade is one of those sets where, I mean, everywhere I looked, it was negative. It was negative news. I couldn't find one single person talking positively about Twilight Masquerade. It's like a flyover set, right? Just like, oh yeah, just forget that. Look forward to the next one. This set's gonna bomb, right? And it's performing as good or better than most every other set out of the gate. It's still one of my like most. I mean, one of my most asked for sets on my breaks. You know, the Greninja cards holding more value than almost I think any other card did out of the gate in Scarlet Violet so far. And one of the reasons is the chase got harder, just like it did with Temporal Forces. And another reason I just think it always comes down to, you know, people don't know this hobby as much as they think, right? There's that disconnect between collectors and investors is just it's so wide, like we've talked about nowadays, that the people in the Discords and on the YouTube channels, the investing and market YouTube channels, guys, they don't know as much as you think they do. Don't fall into that trap like a lot of people do.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, when I saw Twilight Masquerade and I looked at it as a set face value, it was not one that I personally was excited, right? Because I looked at the set and I said, sure, it has a cool Greninja card. The Carmine looks like it's going to be another Iona waifu. That made sense to me. But in my mind, I in no way thought that the set itself was going to be carried by those two cards. I never anticipated the Greninja to be worth as much as it is. And, you know, obviously what we're seeing with the pull rates, it's really playing a factor into the value of Twilight with the chases and how hard it is to hit, along with the art designs, right? So really going back to the discussion we've had before about factors to kind of take into consideration when you talk about, is a set going to do well in, you know, artwork, character, and scarcity. You're taking scarcity right now into consideration after the fact of the release, and then using that as kind of the metric to realize, okay, we thought this set was going to be bad, or I'm speaking for myself, right? Because we thought these two characters weren't going to hold it up enough, even with their artwork consideration. But now that the sets come out and we've seen the scarcity is playing a factor, we now realize that, okay, there's this other element that is causing the prices to be what they're at right now. Currently speaking, I think this is a set that could perform better than what I myself and others potentially thought. But that's ultimately something that you can't really know the answer to until the sets come out and people start to get actual numbers from it being opened up.
Pooping Turtle 69. He asked the question, do you see SV single prices cooling off anytime soon?
Real quick, I want to address something. Someone said, what about 151? What is that mostly sold out? Yeah, 151 is the exception to really like what's sold out quick, because 151 I would say is probably everyone's favorite set. Oh, and Paldean Fates. But here's the thing about that. You know what's Paldean Fates and 151 are the two that are the most unavailable right now at distro. But why is that, right? Is there anything special about those two sets? Is there something unique about those two sets that are different than all the other sets that are available at distro? I mean, I don't know if you get what I'm alluding to here, but they're the two specialty sets that are in the Scarlet and Violet era, right? They are the two specialty sets we've had. And with that being said, specialty sets tend to have way less available product compared to booster box sets. Now, that's not taking away from the fact that 151 is a great set and it is an extremely high demand. And Paldean Fates is, you know, I think it's an okay set, but a lot of people like it more, right? But if you look at like general market price for Paldean Fates, it's not like it's performing extremely crazy in terms of the sealed product outside of the booster bundle, which it's a booster bundle. We should know why. It's something where I look at that and I'm just saying to myself, it's just the same old thing where the specialty sets have less supply. And so whether it's a phenomenal specialty set like 151 or not, it's going to be scarce. And even if it does have more supply, because 151 did get another reprint, or it did get a reprint, it got eaten up quickly because of the demand. So there's those two kind of factors that kind of play into the general scarcity of both of the sets, as well as the overall demand of them being specialty sets. Because the thing is as well, like if I'm going to look at a booster box, right? And funny enough, Alex and I were talking about this right before stream. Booster boxes are going to be going for around the $90 price point at wholesale, give or take, versus ETBs are going to be going for around the $30 price point. So if you're saying to yourself, oh, I've got, 2,000 ETBs that I'm buying for like $30, right? That's $60,000 worth of product you're purchasing. Now, if I'm saying I'm buying that same quantity of boosters, that's now $180,000. That's triple the amount of money you have to spend to get the same quantity of a different product. So that's where it becomes harder because you have to dump more money in for that product to move, where you don't have to spend as much within ETBs.
Well, that's the same quantity of product, but it's not the same quantity of packs still.
Yeah, that's also a good point as well to mention.
So when you think about like pack breakers, right? Like if we're trying to open packs, well, a case of ETBs is 90 packs now, whereas a case of booster boxes is 216 packs. So you have to go through over 2 cases of ETBs to equal 1 booster box case. And so if you're thinking that people are opening around the same amount of packs, especially sets as they are regular sets, that's why the product disappears so much faster. There's just not enough of it to do everything everyone needs it to do,
Yeah. People are saying that Paldean Fates kids love it a lot more. Oh, 1,000%. Oh, 100%. I mean, in the shop, we have a lot of Paldean Fates singles, like baby shinies. Okay, so I'm talking from the perspective, obviously, on this channel. How do I want to say this? I'm going to back up for a second. When we talk on this channel, we talk about things from the perspective of like the investor, right? But ultimately, as someone who owns a shop, right, there is a completely different bubble that I would say that we're in compared to most people that come into the shop. And so with that being said, in terms of the disconnect, we're talking big numbers here: booster boxes, ETBs, units, cases, right? When you go into a shop, that is not what you tend to see on like an everyday spend. Like we just recently introduced our binder, which is $1, $2, $3, $4, like cheap cards available, right? And within that, there's a mix of Pokemon shinies, Pokemon Vs, Pokemon GXs, et cetera, et cetera. It's killing right now. Like we've sold out of like a third of our $1 cards in like a day. So the amount, and we had 100, like we sold 33 $1 cards within a day, because it's something that parents can like afford for an extremely cheap price to give to their kids. And the kids just want the shiny cards. They just want the V cards and the GXs and the EXs. So when it comes to Paldean Fates, right, I obviously talk about it from like an investability perspective when I look at the set. But in terms of the actual set itself and how it is performing to like kids and like the general consumer market, it is seen as an incredibly good set because people do enjoy being able to chase those shinies and own those shinies for extremely affordable price. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just want to mention that because people always think that I'm talking about it from like a general perspective, Yeah,
and can you squash the, Ironclad said, have you heard the rumors about the 151 pre-orders being available Q3, Q4? Is there any news whatsoever out there about 151 right now?
Wait, like it's available for pre-order right now?
It's gonna be in Q3, Q4. Like this is the problem with the internet is you have people out there just say things, right? They just say things and then people hear it and they think it's like a thing. Guys, I mean, Eli can tell you, but there's no news about anything 151 getting reprinted right now.
Dude, if there was, I would have told Alex.
I mean, but it's just the way this hobby is. Like, people just like these random content creators will just like speak out of their ass, and then people just kind of take it as like, oh yeah, it's coming. Like, no, it's not.
I love Alfred. Alfred's like, I don't see it on distro. Alfred's like looking to check and see if there's something we're missing here. Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, here's the deal, right? That individual could know more information than me, but I'm really close with my distributors because I'm with most of my distributors, like one of their largest clients. And so they tend to give me, let me put it this way. This is something that my rep told me. When we do allocations for product, we allocate the big people first and then we go from there. And so when it comes to like us getting our numbers or like hearing of any news, the bigger accounts will get notified of this information first. So for me, the fact that I haven't heard anything about it, I would usually be one of the first to know. And even if I wasn't one of the first to know, usually it's something that my rep loves to tell me these things because he knows that if something like that were to happen, I would buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of product. So it's something that, it's not anything I've heard of. Oh, I see. I don't know if this is relevant, but Simon says rumor says 151 is being reprints in the EU. I don't know if this is a question of something that's in the US versus EU, because obviously if it's EU versus US, that's completely different. They have their own different print runs over outside of the US. But I know, at least with the information I provided, I've heard no information about 151 reprints coming. I think it'll probably happen, but I can't guarantee it because obviously there's no confirmation of anything at this moment.
And here's the thing with the Scarlet and Violet stuff, guys. I know we all like to speculate and reprint because that's what everyone like. I don't know. They thrive on in this hobby is talking about reprints. It's so weird. But like STC said, he's joking. He's like, is saying Evolving Skies getting reprinted out of my ass? Yeah, that's a perfect example for anyone that wasn't here. Everyone was saying, Eli was even thinking it, that Evolving Skies was getting a reprint. Like it was like a year-long rumor. Oh, Evolving Skies is good. A reprint's coming. It's going to be coming. It's going to be coming. Guys, just know, I am going to say it right now. I am willing to bet that there is going to be one of these Scarlet Violet sets that doesn't get reprinted. And everyone's going to say it's coming. It's coming. I've got rumors. I've heard about it, and it's not going to come. And so be very careful taking like these random YouTubers' words for things about these rumors or this reprint's coming, because every YouTuber out there was saying Evolving Skies was getting a reprint for like a year long, and it never came. And everyone thought they were going to be able to buy boxes back in the hundreds, and the box went to 2 to 3 to 4 to 400 plus, and now it's 700 plus. So just be careful with that stuff.
Well, for myself, when it came to evolving, I remember that I made a video back in May, I think I want to say, and I'll have to go back and look at the video, but I basically said that if there isn't another Evolving Skies reprint, or if there isn't a Evolving Skies reprint, then I would give away, like, I can't remember what the product was I said I would give away, because I was so sure it was going to happen. Literally like 2 weeks after I made that video, I got a call from my rep saying, hey, Evolving Skies is going to get a reprint, but it's going to be tiny. And then when that occurred, that reprint happened in August. We saw the price of Evolving go from 200 down to like 120, 130. And then I was like telling people like, hey, this is a very tiny reprint. Obviously, prices have corrected since then. I see this as like kind of a flag that we're going to see Evolving Skies just run up from here. Now, do I think that Evolving Skies is going to get another reprint? I can never say anything's 100% for certain, but I will say that I believe that it's highly likely because this reprint was so tiny and there's such high demand for the set. That was my initial thought out the gate, because I was like, oh, this is such a tiny reprint. Like there has to be more that's coming, right? And then as time went closer and closer to the set rotation, as I mentioned before, because if you guys don't know, Pokemon doesn't reprint once it goes out of set rotation, it became ever clear that like it's not going to happen. And I hated to say it because it was something that I felt was like not the only Evolving Skies product that was going to come, right? I thought that small reprint wasn't the last. And so when kind of taking that into consideration, the main takeaway that I got from looking at that was, okay, if there is a reprint that does happen in that situation for a set like Evolving Skies, no matter how big or how small it is, we have to look at it face value and say, this could be the last, regardless of the size of it. Because at the end of the day, like it happened, the reprint did occur in August. It wasn't as big as we would have liked, but it happened, you know? So
and Brilliant Stars came around that same time, and it didn't drop under $100.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. And that's where kind of I learned from, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I learned from, I guess, history is looking at evolving and seeing how that happened. And then seeing that exact same thing happen to Astro and Brilliant. And then say to myself, there's a small reprint that happened with Astro and Brilliant. Taking a look at what happened with evolving, I now feel more confident in saying that it's entirely possible that Astral and Brilliant is not going to get another reprint because of what we saw happen with evolving. So rather than taking it and saying like, you just want to make sure that if you're going to be wrong on something and hoping that something's going to occur, use that information as a way to help make that prediction in the future, now using the relevant information that you learned from, if that makes sense, right? So I said, hey, I think evolving could get another reprint other than this tiny one. It didn't happen. Okay, now taking exactly what's happening with Brilliant Astral and saying the exact same thing applying, and here we are. We haven't gotten anything for Astral. I mean, we've got a resupply for Brilliant, but it's not a reprint. So you kind of got to take that with face value when it comes to any of these things. Like 151, as much as I hate to say it, 151's already had a reprint. There is an argument to be made that 151 could, in theory, never get it again. Now, it's a specialty set, so I think it's a different situation because they love printing specialty sets into the ground. But, I guess there is an argument, but it's relevant usually to just booster box sets, I would say.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to cause FOMO or anything. And I used to get into it with people in my Discord, which I've got better about, and I kind of stay out of it from now on. But there's this trend in this hobby, right, where a lot of the investors have fallen prey to this mindset of you don't buy anything early. Like you don't buy anything. You wait for however much time you want to wait. You wait till a reprint comes. You wait till these things get printed down into the ground. And it's just like Eli was just saying, guys, Evolving Skies got a reprint. It never fell below $100 again. Brilliant Stars got the reprint. It stayed above $100, right? So people thinking that once the reprint comes, I'm going to buy these boxes up at $80 or $90. Guys, there's a chance Paldea Evolve never goes to under $100 again. I'm just saying there's a chance. I'm not saying it can't. What I'm saying is this mindset of everything is going to get these massive reprints and everything is going to get just drilled down to the ground and you're going to go pick it up for pennies on the dollar and everyone's going to panic. It's a very flawed way of thinking. I subscribe to the mindset of pick some up. If a reprint comes, pick more up, dollar cost average. If it doesn't come, well, you're sitting pretty because at least you have some at the lower costs. Whereas, a lot of people want to go by this mindset of, I don't want to have dead money sitting. I'm going to wait till the reprint, the real, bottom falls out in a year or something, or a year and a half, and then I'll pick it up right before it goes out of rotation. It can work, right? There's people that do time things right, but it is riskier. And this mindset that you think you're going to be able to find all these boxes in the 80s or 90s, it might be kind of this fleeting dream that might not come back.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I obviously am saying that I'm not picking up product until the holiday season. But if you hear me speak, I'm not saying that there's a specific item I am not picking up until the holiday season, right? Like to Alex's point, Paldea Evolved, right? Paldea Evolved is at 130 right now. What I like to assume that there's a reprint that's coming during the holiday season? Yes. But is that a guarantee? Of course not, right? Rebel Clash didn't get a reprint. Now, I think that was more or less having to do with supply chain issues, but who knows? I could be off base, right? Could be something else that we don't know. With that being said, I am not going into the holiday season saying I'm taking all my money and I'm putting it in Paldea Evolve because I'm so confident a reprint's going to happen. What I'm saying is, hey, there is going to be opportunities during the holiday season. That is going to be my fundamental focus. If Paldea Evolved one of them, fantastic. If not, I'm going to be focusing on something else because it just is what happens, right? And so being able to kind of take certain plays and making the, historical analysis from that is, I think, the most important thing to take away when it comes to understanding the seasonality of the market.
Yeah, now I want to address the chats. People are saying Evolving Skies was under $100. Guys, so when we're talking about market price, you can't look at TikTok, these crazy TikTok deals and coupons people share. You can't look at independent LGS websites that blow things out at ridiculous prices. Maybe even a random seller jumps on eBay and blows everything out real cheap. You have to look at what the market price is, what everyone can buy the boxes at on either TCG Player or eBay. You can use either one. They weren't going that low, right? You may have found some deal somewhere that someone ran or some coupon or bought enough quantity, whatever it may be. They weren't that low. Like, that's the truth of it. It's like saying right now, evolving or Paldea evolved, it's $130 box, right? Now someone could share all these different things. Alex, I bought it for $110. I found it on TikTok for under $100. I found it on this LGS website for $119.99. None of that matters. It's $130 market price box, right? So that's what we're referring to when we talk about market price.
Yeah, I remember that Evolving Skies was obviously wholesale on my distributor's page before the set came out. And then when they came out with like the next wave of Evolving Skies and they had more of the product available, they were selling it for $95. So I don't know where people were buying it for sub 100, but I know for at least on my site, I was selling it for 105 at the time. And that was considered one of the cheapest you could get on the market. So
and again, that's an independent site. Like, that's not the open market.
Yeah, this isn't the open market. Open market was selling it for 120. So
that's kind of like the fight we have in this era, era we're in, is there's so many different sites now. Like, people use all these different sites to buy, and then also the rumors online. Like, some of the rumors are real, some are not. Some people just like to like get on and like lie and say, "Oh, I bought these boxes for $50 or whatever," but some of the deals are real. Like TikTok coupons, they're real. You can get crazy deals on TikTok. In no way, shape, or form, though, does that mean that's the market price, right? You can find LGS websites blowing things out. In no way, shape, or form does that mean the box is that price, right? Just because you found it for that doesn't mean that's the market price. Just be careful about that stuff.
So I feel like I'm not going to announce this just because we've basically already been taking people's questions. But if you want to obviously have a question answered, make sure leave it down in the comment section below. We will be answering your guys' questions.
I want to mention Spectral Dave real quick. It wasn't a question, but he said NN mentioned recently that there were very little modern boxes at the recent con. On eBay in UK, I can buy more vintage WotC BBs than Team Up Cosmic BBs. What the hell is happening here? That's true for Collecticon too. I saw more WotC era booster boxes sealed than I saw XY or Sun and Moon booster boxes sealed at the show. Why that is, you could argue, well, they thought the market was better there for vintage than XY and Sun and Moon, whatever it may be. I noticed that at the show, though. There was more WotC than there was XY and Sun and Moon. What does that mean? Don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Means WotC is more available than everyone thinks.
Just throwing it out there.
I want to answer this question just because I know the answer. How many of this 12 Sword and Shield main sets got at least a small reprint, right? I'll talk booster boxes. And if it's a specialty set, I'll talk ETBs. Base set, Rebel Clash didn't get a reprint. Darkness and Vivid both got reprints. Champion's Path did get a reprint. And then after Champion's Path would be Battle Styles. Battle Styles got 1 or 2 reprints. Chilling Reign, surprisingly enough, didn't get a reprint. It actually didn't. It got a resupply from its second wave. So people don't know this, but like I mentioned earlier in the video, Chilling had 2 waves because of the supply chain issue system. First wave, price was at like 140, and then it dropped after release down to 120. Second wave, price dropped down into the 80s into the 70s. So it wasn't a reprint. It was it was the second wave that dropped the price. Then you also had Evolving Skies, which Evolving Skies had all of its initial waves come out, and then there was more that came out left over, and then a reprint happened. Fusion Strike, there technically wasn't really a reprint. There was more additional supply that came onto the market. So here's how I kind of look at Evolving, Fusion, and Chilling is Pokemon wanted to address the fact that they were running behind of schedule because they had their print waves that were supposed to come a month after release, but they kept getting delayed because of supply chains. Like Chilling, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Chilling came out in June. The second wave was supposed to come out July. It didn't come out till November, I think, because of how late everything was. And so what they did was they took the supply that they had from the second wave, put it on the market, and then they put more of it on the market. I don't know if you want to consider that necessarily a reprint. I think it's just them trying to make sure that when they do go in and put more in, this is kind of it after that. But then moving on, I mean, you can kind of take that as it is. Brilliant got a tiny reprint. Astral got a tiny reprint. Brilliant got a resupply recently, but I wouldn't consider that a reprint. Both Silver Tempest, LO, as we all know, did get reprints. Pokemon Go did not get a reprint. Celebrations did get a reprint before it went out of rotation. Very small reprint, but it did happen. And then they announced no more. And then lastly, Crown Zenith has gotten a reprint. So it's a lot of information, but that's all of the information. I know that, some people are going to look at things and say like, resupply, like what is that? Or additional product being put out after wave system. It's kind of hard to say because there is obviously a different time period in which a lot of this occurred during COVID, but that's kind of how I at least am interpreting a lot of this when it comes to the situation. So who knows, if you want to say, that extra supply that came out for Evolving Fusion and, Chilling was all a reprint, you could say that, but it's one that I feel like it's very foggy. And for me, I don't look at it as a reprint because typically if you would consider it a reprint, it would usually be allocated, but I don't know. Hard to kind of say. You can kind of take that as you want to.
Yeah, Spectral Dave was speculating more, saying, is it plausible some of these modern booster boxes get to the point in 10 to 15 years where they get more expensive than WotC boxes? Very plausible at this point. Unlimited for sure. They're Fossil. I mean, I think Jungle, like a lot of the unlimited boxes are sub 10K, right? And we've got Flashfire, Team Up, things like that knocking on the door. So if those unlimited WotC boxes are 7, 8K, we already got boxes that are 2, 3K. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, right? They're not going to touch like base first edition or any like the big giant hitters like the mid-era sets. But yeah, there's the early WotC stuff. It was very heavily printed, especially unlimited. There's a world where that could happen.
I mean, this is obviously eBay, right? So you want to take that with a grain of salt because technically speaking, eBay is the more spendy place. But right now, lowest listed for an English unlimited jungle box is $7,899. There is a lot of Diamond and Pearl era booster boxes that are worth more than that. Like Secret Wonders, Majestic Dawn, to just name a couple of them. I mean, we don't have any yet for XY or Black and White that are that much, but like Alex was saying, every EX box is more expensive than that almost, if I'm correct. I don't know of a lot of EX boxes that are sub that amount. Maybe not Power Keepers. What's that set that had the Regigigas, the Groudon, or not the Regigigas, sorry, the Regirock, Ice and Steel, and then the Groudon Kyogre. I can't remember what it was called. Something Keepers or something Power in it. A lot of people crapped on the set and said it was the worst set of the EX era. But anyway, like there's a large amount of EX boxes that are significantly more expensive than unlimited boxes. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's interesting to see, to say the least. So
put it this way, there's already cards in those modern sets that are selling. They're selling for a lot more than those PSA 10 unlimited vintage hollows, right?
Yeah,
so if you already have the PSA 10 cards surpassing them, the boxes can be next. Like there's nothing saying that they can't.
Yeah, Call Legends is another one people mention. Call Legends is definitely more expensive. That one is so hard to find, dude. You know Call Legends, right?
Yeah. Imagine the amount of irrational market comments we'll get on that day. I can't wait.
Oh man, that will be insane to see.
People will be so triggered when that happens. Like, it's just funny too, like how people just can't. I don't know what it is. You just can't get out of your own way. You can't like get out of your own mindset of whatever philosophy you've bought into. But the best way is to stay fluid, right? Stay fluid. Always be willing to change your mind if the data supports it. and don't get too locked into a theory or a belief just because like maybe you're in groups or you own certain things. That's the hardest thing in this hobby, right? Is when you own things and the sentiment changes the market shifts. It's like human nature. It's a knee-jerk reaction to say like, oh no, it's gonna jump back up. Oh no, this isn't gonna last. All these people are just stupid. It's like, well, maybe, or maybe there's something else going on you need to look into, and maybe your consensus was wrong that you came up with, and you might have to shift directions. So that's my biggest advice to everyone out there is just always be willing to say that you might be wrong on whatever you're thinking. Maybe we're wrong on modern, maybe we're wrong on this, but it's just always be willing to say you're wrong because no one knows what this market's going to do.
I've said this before. I don't really pay attention to population report that much when it comes to most things. I know we want to talk about population report a lot, but the problem is like population report is only relevant to the demand. Like a perfect example of that is, so most people should know this already. Huge Diamond and Pearl era fan. And one of the things I was doing was I was buying Great Encounter packs and I was opening them to pull and chase holo cards because they were very low pop. One of them was a Swampert holo from Great Encounters. And at the time when I first was opening it, it was like a pop 10. And I was able to pull the Swampert, got it graded, hit a 10. And I think once it hit a 10, it was like a pop 13 at that point. Bear with me for 2 seconds here. I'm going to pull up the card. But last time I checked the population report, yep, it's now 78, which most people might say, wow, 78, like that's still relatively low. But if you talk about the fact that it went up by 6x the amount of population report, you hear that amount and you say 6x is pretty big, but it's still under 100 pop, right? The price of the card was selling for about $1,000 at the time. It is since then sold last for $250. The prices dropped by 50% just based on that small amount being added on. It feels like it's small because there's not a lot, but also you have to understand for that specific card, the demand is also very low. And so you have to be able to take that into consideration when saying, okay, when looking at the population report, sure, it's scarce, but you also have to assume a lot of people are probably not grading that card because a lot of people don't really care for that card. And that's the thing. If you look at most of these modern products from like Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield era, sure, they've got high pops, but also they've got extremely high demand. Alt arts are at the price points they're at for a reason.
You know what's funny is a lot of people hear us talk about this, and some people probably in this chat don't even know. I'm sure there's probably one person that's watching this out of the 150 that are here. By the way, thanks for everyone tuning in that probably doesn't even know what pop reports are. And most people probably don't even pay attention to them. But if you guys don't know, like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago in this hobby, in the investing side of things, they were all the rage. That's what every big investing channel talked about. They hyped it up. They made it sound like it was like the end all be all of Pokemon card investing was low pop cards, rare cards, highest grade, condition rarities, everything. And the shift we've seen has been kind of unprecedented. And it just goes to show that, trying to base your like investments off what other investors think is not really as it's not as strong as basing your off what like the general public wants or the general collector of the ones, because they're the ones that actually are running the hobby and buy the most cards. The investors are all thinking of things that are important to them. You need to get out of your own way and think about what's important to most people.
Yeah. I was just thinking about it now. You're going to make fun of me when I say this. I think I should make a video.
You're going to make a YouTube video?
Yeah. There you go.
No.
I think it would be a really good video. I know it probably won't get a ton of views, but I want to use it and like make it a progressive thing. And I want to call it the history of Pokemon reprints. And it's literally just me with a whiteboard. And it's me showing a timeline of all the history of new sets coming out along with the reprints. And then people can go back, timestamp it. And then every single time we go into a new era, I create like a new one of those videos, or I should say every like first half, second half, right? and I make another one of those videos, and then we take that and we progressively build on that foundation. So that way we have like a true historical data of like looking at it. And then we can then say, okay, based on what happened here and here, we can predict that it's probably going to happen here, and kind of just use that as like a foundational point for like future relevancy. I think that would be a really fun video to make, because it would kind of clear up a lot of questions a lot of people have regarding reprint consistency, and like, okay, how many times did it happen, and like really analytically breaking it down.
I just think it'd be fun to see you create a video again. So
I am too, man. I took Saturday, Sunday off. Felt pretty freaking good taking some time off. I'll tell you what, man, it's been a long time. It's my first 2 days off I've had this month, so I'll take it. But yeah, I think making a video like that would be really fun. I'll have to pop out the whiteboard, put it in the back, and literally go Dr. freaking Professor Eli, because I do have a whiteboard. I did buy a whiteboard because I wanted to make more whiteboard videos. I've only made one. I think it'd be cool to do, because I do like that style of content where Rudy pops out his whiteboard and talks about certain things, because I think it can illustrate a picture a lot better that way. And you can also like really capture it through like screenshotting and stuff.
well, hopefully you don't get the same amount of hate that I do, like about Rudy.
Oh God. What do you
Dude,
mean
every
by
comment,
that?
every single video, I have at least 1 to 3 comments of people like saying I need to stop trying to rip off Rudy or something. It's kind of funny.
I didn't know that Rudy freaking has a trademark on making videos with whiteboards.
He does. He has
I
a video. He's a trademark on investing in cardboard. You didn't know this?
Dang, dude, that's crazy.
We're
That's
actually all
insane.
infringing right now. We all owe him millions. He's already so rich. He just doesn't exercise his right.
Yeah, capital gains tax. They call it the Rudy tax for Pokemon. That's the thing. So that's so funny. But what does that say? When Eli makes videos and Alex makes vendor POV videos, I'll buy Pokemon Go.
Hey, later, you're not too far off. Later this year, I'm going to have some vendor videos.
I mean, I've talked to Alex about this a ton. I think that vendor videos, honestly, for both of us, will probably come at some point. So I don't want to do the storefront videos. And what I mean by that is like recording interactions in the storefront. I'll do videos talking about the store, but I think vending videos I feel more comfortable with, because obviously you're going to be around a place where people are used to being a lot more recorded. So it's a fun thing that I think you'll see content come from both of us for.
Always evolving.
What does this say? You need to make the video hilariously badly overdubbed with the new games of the new sets, just badly voiced over the set names from previous gens. Do you know what that means?
I don't know, man. Just people trying to create some funny ideas. I have a question here. Hey, your average player, man. It was baffling entering my friend's vault and seeing 15 cases of every Sun and Moon set. That's actually not too wild, but yeah, like some of the stuff you hear, it's like, where are the pictures at? Oh no, they're too secretive. They'll never share a picture. It's just like, yeah, it's just funny how they're, Rudy talks about this. Speaking of Rudy, like you hear all these stupid stories of everyone having these warehouses full of all this stuff, right? But no one's got any pictures. No one's got any videos. No one's got any proof of it, but it's out there.
Should I take a picture of my 16 cases of Lost Origin? Should I
15 cases, that's reasonable. I could see that. But like some of these people, like these pallets and pallets of team up, like, all right, bro, like where is it?
Let's talk about this. Price of booster boxes at the time was going for roughly around $80 per booster. 15 cases comes out to $7,200.
Yeah, that's realistic.
That's not a lot. That's if someone said every new set release, I'm gonna set away 15 cases, $7,200. That's not really that's not that unrealistic for someone to be able to afford to do that for a new set release.
If I had my old job, I could easily do that, like no problem.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't take food off the table or anything. I mean, because especially if you're only doing booster box sets, that's only 30 grand a year.
I mean, how much is that? How much is that now, right? I wonder how much, if we were to do the math and see how much that's worth. What do you think the average price of each booster box is at this point? I mean, if you were to take the accumulative average of each one,
probably 500.
See, that's what my mind thought. I guess my only thing I get fearful of is like how much team up is going to skew that number. So I feel like you're probably closer to $700 on average.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the median and the average are going to be different for sure.
Yeah.
Probably a
And
median of 500.
yeah. And then if you say it's $700 a box times 6 boxes times 15 cases, and then he did that for every single set in Sword and Shield, or
12.
there's 12 mainline booster box sets.
Yep.
I just want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So the math comes out to an investment. He made $756,000 if that's the case.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, like that's crazy number, but your average player said, and then DMs on Discord. Yeah, dude, like honestly, that sounds realistic, right? I was more using your comment to like call out the crazy stuff you hear. Like 15 cases seems realistic, right? But like the stuff you hear about the pallets and warehouses full and like these thousands of team up boxes, it gets so ridiculous at that point where it's like, dude, without pictures, I can't. I'm not taking your word on that bull crap. Like
I want
15
cases
to
me so I can share it. I want to see.
Yeah, 15 cases. I don't have it. I thought you said I don't have the DM. Oh,
well, average player.
Hold on, let me check it. Let me check it.
Well, DM me on Discord for sure. That would be a sick thing to show.
This is a picture of a bunch of vintage boxes. Your average player. We want to see the 15 cases of 12 sets, which comes out to like, what is that? Like
a lot. I think I'm undershooting it. Honestly, I think it's probably more. I think we're undershooting it. I mean, if we were to have to do a full breakdown. Oh yeah, that's a bunch of vintage boxes. I mean, it's cool, obviously, seeing all those expensive vintage boxes. It's probably Chloe stuff. You got another question you want to do? Alfred says, you make one video and then every new era just dub the set name with the current era's set name. Oh, that's what he meant. So you need to make the video. Oh my God. I know exactly what it meant. Sorry, Ironclad. I get what you mean. That's the picture.
That picture he sent me. It's like all the vintage boxes. Here's how crazy I am, and I'm not even lying to you.
Average player, don't show it on stream. He just said don't show it on stream.
It's not. There's no name or anything. It's just a picture. Like,
okay. Fair enough.
But either way, like, here's how crazy I am. I would be more impressed with seeing the 15 cases of all 12 Sun and Moon sets than I am seeing this.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know who Long Beach Griffey is? Yeah, I wouldn't assume. So he's like makes 1 minute, 2 minute videos on YouTube, like funny sketches. And the one video that he makes is one about the iPhone every year. And it's literally like how Apple be with the new iPhone each year. And he literally has this running meme that he does where he reposts the same video every single year. And then whenever it's like whatever the name of the new iPhone that's coming out, he just dubs it over. So it'll be the same video and it'll be like, welcome everyone. We are proud to announce that we're introducing, and then in a dub voice, the iPhone 15. And then it just continues the rest of the video and he just dubs over exactly the parts that are like irrelevant to the actual history. And he just posts the same video every single year. And it's still super funny because you're just like, he's making a joke that iPhones never actually change anything because they just come out with the same soft product every year. And of course, whenever they do come out with something revolutionary, it was already done by Android for the previous 5 years. And that's coming from someone who's had both an iPhone and an Android. So yeah, it's one of these things where it's like super funny. So I think that would be that's a good idea if you were to make a video of like talking about the best investment, and you just literally had one for like Silver Tempest, and then LO comes out and you just create the same video and you just dub it over and you like splice out the chart so it doesn't show the booster box, it just shows charts, and you have no clue what it's relevant to, but you're like just hoping that. Yeah, I think that'd be so funny.
And what you do is you release that same video like all 5 days of the week. Just every day you get more and more haters in the comments.
Yeah, dude, that's hilarious. That I think that would be a funny video. Alex made a video earlier. Raw packs from specialty sets rising faster than ETBs. With that in mind, would you break down the product to save space?
You can always break it down. You can't put it back together.
That is true.
But I mean, if space is like that big of an issue and like it's between like selling or breaking it down, I guess an argument could be made to break it down. But you know, you can't put the cat back in the bag. So
how much are celebration packs going for?
Well, that celebrations is an anomaly because there's extra packs inside of that.
Well, I know, but that's why I'm curious just to see celebration packs what they're going for. They're going for $6.80.
Okay.
$6.
So there's what? How many is there in an ETB?
I think 10 or 12. But then you also have the extra packs in the regular ETB. Because the standard ETB is actually going for lowest listed, it's going for 81. So, but it comes with 10 celebrations packs and then 5 additional Pokemon booster packs.
Yeah.
So it comes with a lot of additional value inside of it, right? But I just can't believe it's still just sitting in the 80s. If you literally look at the yearly chart, it's just it going sideways. That's all it is. And if you actually look at it too, the Pokemon Center Celebrations ETB has actually gone down. It used to be selling for 120, and now it's selling for 104. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't been a good invest. I mean, it's been good relative to like other things that you could have put your money into, I guess, but it hasn't been great in terms of Pokemon.
Dude, someone just said, I think this is so funny because it says Rudy predicted Fusion going to 1,000 booster box in the future. Oh yeah, I am 100% right here guaranteeing it. $1,000 will happen for Fusion. There, I said it. I guaranteed it. Damn. I guarantee that at least in 50 years, that it'll probably be worth $1,000 a booster box. You know what I mean?
Years.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's how long it's going to take, but I can guarantee that in the future it'll be worth that much. I don't think
that's going to happen if Pokemon like crashes and goes to zero, though, because that's what's happening.
You know, that is going to happen. Of course, that's an everyday anomaly. That's never going to not happen. Obviously, no. I think that you saying that something's going to go to $1,000, not you. I'm saying Rudy. Like anyone can make that prediction. It's a time frame. Let's be real here. How quickly will it get to 1,000? No one can predict that.
I will give my opinion on that though. When it comes to sleeve blisters, I only really recommend those to people who have good outlets of moving them. As sets age, it gets harder to move some of those other products. And so like they do go for good margins, but like you're selling them by like the 4 at a time, like one of each artwork, or you know, just as long as you have good outlets to move the product quickly and you can actually realize the gains when they come and you're not spending, you know, half a year trying to sell off all the blisters that you acquired, good. But if you're new to selling, don't really have a store, haven't sold a lot, like booster boxes are much more liquid and easier to move. So just keep that in mind.
Here's an important question that I'm curious about. How much celebrations did you see at the event?
In terms of sealed?
Loose packs or sealed, like ETBs and stuff.
Honestly, man, I can't think of a single celebrations ETB I saw or UPC. Zero.
Yeah.
Singles, there were definitely good amount of Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaurs, Pikachus, Umbreons, Magikarps, things like that from the classic collection. So the singles were like there, not as plentiful as Trainer Gallery or Alt Arts, but they were around. Honestly, I'm thinking in my head, I can't think of a single celebrations product I saw sealed.
If anyone has a lot of celebrations sealed product that they want to give me a discount on from market to avoid fees, let me know, man. Because I think the fact that the ETB is going for 80 and the specialty is going for 100 it makes sense. But I mean, 2021 is when the set came out. It's 2024, not next year, but the following year. We're gonna have the 30th anniversary, and the hype is going to happen at some point next year. I assume it's probably going to happen end of next year, but when that hype does start to happen, 25th anniversary stuff will go up in value. Like, it seems really cheap for what it is. Oh, there is one thing I also wanted to mention, just because I thought about this. So back when Chilling and Fusion had come out, everyone was always saying like Chilling's better, Chilling's better, Chilling's better. I remember I had a full-on debate actually with Northwood Games. I had him on the live and we were debating between which is better, Chilling or Fusion. And for me, I was saying that I thought Fusion was going to perform better and he thought Chilling was going to perform better. And it's funny because obviously Fusion has now performed better, but the big argument that I made for Fusion and why it was performed better is not because I think that Fusion's a better set. It's because if you look at Fusion face value as a whole, it was a set that was, in my opinion, overshadowed by the sets around it. You have to think, you had literally Battle Styles came right before Chilling, and then Chilling happened, right? So a lot of people were hyping up Chilling because Battle Styles performed fine, but like everyone was hyping up Chilling when it first came out. What happened after that? You had Evolving, then Celebrations, then Fusion, then Brilliant. And within that entire like 4-set span, you had sets that literally everyone was focusing on. Everyone was focusing on Evolving. Everyone was focusing on Celebrations. Everyone was focusing on Brilliant. Because when Brilliant came out, everyone's like, it's an alternate art Charizard. This is insane. Evolving, insane set. Eevees, Rayquaza. And so when people saw Fusion, Fusion was a set that got drastically overlooked because of the fact that it wasn't standing up to the other couple sets. And so for me, the biggest thing, I remember I said it all the freaking time with Fusion, was this is going to be a set that people are going to underappreciate and it's going to get overlooked over time because of the sets that came out around it. And so I think Fusion is going to actually perform a lot better in the future. I can't say when, but that's kind of what my prediction was. So seeing Fusion come to fruition with the price point that it's at currently, I'm like actually kind of happy about, because I think it's finally getting the recognition that it should get. I understand it doesn't have the same amount of high value cards as Chilling in terms of like, you know, obviously the Mew and the Gengar and the Espeon are really expensive, but there's a lot more like valuable alternate arts in the set than there is in Fusion. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I do think Fusion is a set that was extremely underappreciated and is now getting value. So I guess to answer your question, is Chilling Reign still worth it investing into in Fusion? Like, I think it still is, because from a long-term perspective, it's totally a value. But I guess, you know, it still begs to ask the question, are you wanting to do more of the sealed, the boosters? Like, there's so much that kind of goes into it. But I think that there's still long-term value to be recognized within any of the Sword Shield era alternate art sets. It's just a question of how long.
The underlying thing there too, like to think about, is even though like obviously someone's going to be right and someone's going to be wrong, no one really lost, right? And you know, I think we get
yeah, right. Oh, I'm up by $20. I made the huge prediction. Fusion's at 240 while Chilling's at 220. Look at me, I'm a genius.
And it's like the whole era though. It's like everyone, you know, worrying about like Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, Astral Radiance, Brilliant Stars. Guys, go look at the price of all those boxes right now. They all range from like 165 to 190, all of them. And so it's just like everyone's so worried about picking the right set. I mean, the being wrong, you're going to be a difference of like $10, $20 is when you're wrong. So it's like, you know, it's not as big of a deal being a set picker as you think, because they usually average out pretty close.
Well, I mean, I guess the point of me bringing that up was not to say like, oh, like I made the that. Well, hold on. I wasn't saying that from perspective of like, oh, look at me, I was right. Fusion did better than Chilling. I was more saying that from the perspective of, dude, I hope I'm right, because if Chilling is way better than Fusion and Fusion is just in the dumps with Brilliant or Battle Styles, that's going to suck so much. So I'm just glad to see that Fusion is performing and it didn't get left behind in the dust while Chilling went up in value. That's more or less what I was trying to say. I'm just glad to see Fusion's finally getting recognition because I think it's a lot better of a set than people realize.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of people hate the Fusion and Chilling debate, but ultimately, as long as they're both performing well, I'm happy. I just always would hate to see it if one performed drastically better than the other. But considering they're so close in price, it's a good look in my mind. I like to see that they're so close in price. Does every generation backload legendary mythical Pokemon from previous generations into the last few sets? Is this why the last few sets in the generation typically perform better than the first half?
Besides XY.
But I wouldn't say that they're backloading legendary mythical Pokemon. They're just backloading the more like premium specialty, like innovative thing, I guess.
They're backloading the Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 Pokemon.
Right, but he didn't say, he said, does every generation backload legendary mythical Pokemon from previous generations into the last few sets? He didn't specify Gen 1. When I thought previous generations, like I thought like, oh, look, in, you know, Sun and Moon, we had XY legendaries in like Cosmic. Because you know how Cosmic, you had like the Brexin and Charizard card, you know what I mean? Or you had the Squirtle and Piplup card, like, I thought of other characters past Gen 1, but I get what he's saying. He's saying like, LO, what was the main Pokemon centered around this set? Giratina and the Pikachu, right? And then Silver Tempest, Rayquaza and Lugia, and then, you know, Evolving Skies, Eevees, and like, I get what he's saying. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's like subject to legendaries only. Although legendaries are playing a key like cog in this, I would say it's more just popular characters, which of course legendaries tend to be popular characters, but like Evolving Skies, if you took the Rayquaza out, the set would probably do just as good. I mean, I would like to believe that it wouldn't be that far off from where it is now. And then as far as it goes with a set like, I don't know, what's another good one to look at, I guess. Oh man, I would say, I guess, but are Urshifu and them considered legendary Pokemon? I don't think they are. I don't know. It's hard.
I mean, Sun and Moon didn't have legendaries.
Sun and Moon didn't have a ton of legendaries.
Those sets were driven. I mean, are Latias legendaries?
They're considered mythicals.
Okay, well, other than that, like the second best card is Gengar and Mimikyu, and then like the other sets are like Mew and Mewtwo, and I guess they are legendaries. Dang it.
Yeah, well, if you also look at Cosmic Eclipse, you've got the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia card, but also you have, like I said, the Brexin and the Charizard card. You've got the Lily card. You've got a lot of other cards. So, like I said before, do a lot of these sets have characters that are legendary? Yes. But do I think it is subject to legendary? No, I don't think so. It's popular characters, which could be legendary, mythicals, and then just general fan favorites, right? So first gen Pokemon, favorite starter Pokemon, favorite, like, you know, relevant legendary mythicals, like that's usually what you're seeing. It's a mix of more than just that, but that does of course play a large factor into it.
It's that, and they also up the pull rate to make them harder, and then it usually adds something into them too. Like they'll add like the trainer gallery, they'll add the, you know, character rares, like they'll usually add something. So they do a bunch of things to really pump up the later sets for some reason.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to think about. The other day I was opening one of the guys that comes into the shop. Shout out to Aiden on this one. He really wants to pull the Gengar, and so we sat there and like we're opening a bunch of fusion, and we opened 120 fusion packs and we didn't pull an alternate art.
Wait, did he pay for these?
So he paid for like the first 60 packs, and then I told him that I really wanted him to pull the Gengar, and so I told him for the next 60 packs that whichever pack, however many packs he bought, I would open one with him, and if I pulled the Gengar, I'd sell it to him for $100. So that way he could still have the opportunity to get the Gengar.
You're a good card shop owner,
dude. I like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's a core memory for me because it's a fun experience, and I know the feeling of wanting to hit a specific card. And so I really wanted to like help him be there and like able to get it. So I was so sad that we didn't even get a single alternate art. It was infuriating. So I've got some more fusion coming in the shop though, so we're gonna make it happen hopefully.
So my video I posted earlier today. Do you remember Lost Thunder? Remember when that got a big reprint?
You mean when they had a bunch of the pre-release kits that just came out of nowhere and they just started dumping that and Fates Collide onto the market?
Yeah, I mean it had a reprint booster boxes too, right?
It wasn't a reprint; it was pre-releases. So what happened was,
well, no, before that though, it did have a reprint.
Oh, like during Sun and Moon? Yeah, well, during Sun and Moon, Lost Thunder did get a reprint, but in terms of like when there was more product that came out of the market, during the Sword and Shield era, there was also pre-release kits that were found. I don't know where they were found, but they were thrown onto the market. So a lot of the build and battles, as well as the booster boxes, started to tank in price.
Yeah, and so I showed the video how, and that was like that was a Sun and Moon 8, right? So that was like later in the Sun and Moon block, right? And the cards in there, it's just rainbow rares and full art trainers. There's nothing special, right? I mean, it's Lugia, but Lugia, but it's not, I think it's Lugia, yeah, but it's nothing special. Nothing special, right? Whereas some of the tag team sets, they're high flyers. They got the alt art, tag team, they have all kind of crazy hits in those sets, right? And Lost Thunder is kind of like the same price as like Unbroken Bonds, barely cheaper than Unified Minds. And it just goes to show that everyone thinking that just because a set has high flying cards, and even if they reprint or they print better sets in the end of Scarlet and Violet, it doesn't necessarily mean that some of these other sets can't perform well because maybe they just have less supply. Maybe they don't get reprints. Maybe there's a bunch of factors, but just chasing sets, like thinking there's going to be another Evolving Skies and it's going to be a $700 box, it doesn't always work that way. It's all I'm saying.
So what you're telling me is you should invest in Vivid Voltage and Darkness Ablaze booster boxes? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing, Alex?
Honestly, not those. One box I will throw out. I will throw out one. Astral. Lowest printed.
That's so lame. That's
lowest printed out of every alt art set for sure.
But that's not fair. It's not comparable because it is an alt art set versus Lost Thunder is not a tag team set. You have to at least compare it and say, hey, non-tag team set, tag team set.
Well,
hey,
non-alt set. Sword and Shield base is $350 to $380 a box.
Yeah, but that's because of supply. There was never a reprint for both of those.
And that's my point about Scarlet. That's my point. Like looking at Scarlet and Violet, we're talking about reprints earlier in the video.
People pick up Vivid and Darkness. Do you think it's not a bad pickup?
Vivid would have a better chance.
Because I've been saying that.
Vivid has a better chance in Darkness, but I don't like either of them.
But that's the thing. You just made an argument for Vivid and Darkness, and then you're like, I don't like either of them. I'm like, but that's the exact same argument with Lost Thunder that I would make.
They had a ton of supply too.
Yeah, but like not really though. I mean,
they were pandemic era sets, and then they got more supply, unlike Sword and Shield base. So like what I'm saying is, looking at Scarlet and Violet, if there's some of those sets that don't get reprints,
Lost Thunder got a ton of supply
compared to the other sets, though, compared to the tag teams.
Well, okay, well, yeah, but
and so what my point is that the more popular sets are usually printed like they're more popular sets. They get more print, and so like if a set that doesn't get reprint doesn't have a lot of love, doesn't get a ton of print, it can actually perform as good as those really great sets because they got too much print. Whereas Vivid Voltage, Darkness Blaze, they got a lot of print and they're lackluster sets. Whereas if they didn't get reprinted like Sword and Shield base, I'd agree. I'm just saying it's something to look for in Scarlet and Violet. If some of those sets don't get a reprint, they could actually do well.
But Lost Thunder, though, you just made the exact same argument. You're now making the argument against.
No, because I think it got less print than the tag team sets did. And I think like just because when a set's really good, when you have really good sets, Pokemon prints them and reprints them like they're really good sets. Whereas sets like that, even though they get reprints, even though they get restocks, it doesn't necessarily mean they're getting as much supply, and they don't need as much supply to disappear from the market to rise in value because they're already too scarce.
But Lost Thunder did get a reprint, and then it also got a big resupply that did drop the price of the booster boxes. Like the booster boxes were selling for sub $300 after they were at $700, and then they just now broke up past their all-time high again after it had dropped by more than 50%. And this was during the Sword and Shield era that additional product came. So it wasn't one of these things where it was like, oh yeah, that extra product came before pandemic. Like, no, it got a print before the pandemic. Then during the pandemic, there was more available versus the tag team sets. None of them got any sort of like relevant major reprint during the pandemic. Like you obviously had Unified Minds and Unbroken Bonds get a reprint right before COVID happened. But like at the end of the day, the relevant print supply of both arguably would be around the same if you consider the resupply that was also taken into consideration and relevant of the time. So I guess for me, like, I don't know.
The reason, like Sir Amanda just said it kind of is like Lost Origin was a technically pretty good set, and it was like a middle of the road. That's why I took, I believe, Astral Radiance, and it's not number 8, but it's close. Like it's a later set, like kind of like Lost Thunder. Like I'm not taking Guardians Rising and comparing it, like or whatever, like the 3rd, 4th set is, like Crimson or Forbidden Light. I'm not. Those are like sets comparable to Vivid Voltage and Darkness Ablaze, right? So like I think Lost Thunder is more like an Astral Radiance style set.
But you can't. I don't think that's comparable though, because you can't compare set from like when it came out to when it came out. I think you have to compare it from artwork to artwork, because
there's 6 alt art sets or 6 or 7 alt art sets when there's only 4 tag team sets. It's impossible.
Right, but that's the thing, is that doesn't change the fact of the matter that there's tag team sets that have tag team cards, and then there's rainbow sets that have rainbow cards. They're not going to be some you can compare because the artworks are different. Like I'm never going to compare an Astral Radiance to like I'll compare Astral to a tag team set because they both have like very similar like aspirational art designs, and obviously there's a trainer gallery, but like Lost Thunder did not have a trainer gallery. It did not have alternate arts. It did not have GXs. It had rainbows, and that was it. And so I look at it and I say, that's a very lackluster set when you compare it to the back half of Sun and Moon and then the alternate art era of Sword and Shield.
So do you not compare Evolving Skies to later Sword and Shield sets because it didn't have a trainer gallery?
But it has alternate art, so you can compare it. It has to at least have something comparable. Yeah, I'm saying that there isn't. I'm saying that with Lost Thunder, it doesn't have anything comparable. It doesn't have a trainer gallery, so you can't compare it to any of the trainer gallery sets. It doesn't have a tag team card, or it doesn't have alternate art card, so it's nothing comparable. At least with Evolving Skies, you can compare it to the tag team era sets, because tag team, in my mind, I look at as like, you know, different versions of alternate arts, and then you can compare it to alternate art sets that have trainer galleries because they also have alternate art. So for me, I guess as long as it has something of relevancy within similar art design, you can compare it. So for me, it's like, sure, there's less tag team sets than there are rainbow cards, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm not going to compare the sets without alternate arts to ones that do. Like that just seems unfair, because alternate arts are so widely seen as like extremely popular. Like no one's going in and like hyping up any of the sets that were previous to the GX era with tag teams, but yet they're still all performing relatively well, all things considered.
All right, well, I'll end it. I'll end it with saying I see Vivid Voltage and Darkness going the way of like Guardians and like Crimson, like that style of move.
You see them as that bad of sets?
Dude, they're awful. Dude, Darkness Ablaze, the best hit is a freaking full art Charizard. It's not even a rainbow. Vivid Voltage has got the Pikachu, so Vivid Voltage will probably be the better of the two. But I mean, dude, a regular Charizard VMAX when we have Shiny Charizard VMAX, Champions Path Charizards, Alt Art Charizards, we got the Charizard UPCs. Like, why does anyone want those cards? Why does anyone want that box? It's just going to be box collectors, which that will rise the price over time. But I just don't think it's going to get open much. I think it's going to take a long time for those to actually see good growth.
I don't know. Like, I'm not an apologist for Vivid, and I'm not an apologist for like Darkness. Like, don't get me wrong, like Darkness is a bad set, but like I would personally say I would compare it more to something like Burning Shadows. Like Burning Shadows,
way.
dude, Burning Shadows is a garbage set. It
You're
was
nuts though, but it's got the highest value Charizard in the entire era when it comes to PSA graded. Like that's what drives the price. Like Darkness Ablaze Charizard goes for like $60-$70 in a PSA 10. There's no chase.
But the thing is though, is the reason why it's worth so much is because the print quality of that generation was awful.
No, it's not. Not just that. It was
For Burning Shadows, it was so bad.
Dude, I used to watch 1,000 pack openings where people would pull one of those. It has actual rarity too. Where that Darkness Ablaze Charizard.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I do agree. It is extremely scarce. Like I've seen those videos. Max Mofo literally had an entire thing where he would sit down and open cases and cases trying to pull it. And it took him I like forever to open it. So like, yeah, there is scarcity to it, but I guess I'm not saying like, how do I want to say this? The general sentiment around Burning Shadows was it was an awful set. The general sentiment was this is a set that has a Charizard, there's nothing else, and the odds of pulling that Charizard is very slim because not only is it really hard to pull because the pull rates are extremely difficult, but also the print quality itself is also terrible. So the odds of it getting a PSA 10 is even higher. So I'm not making the argument that like the Rainbow Charizard is better than the standard VMAX because obviously a VMAX plane is boring as hell and it sucks. But I'm saying the general sentiment around around the sets are the same. I only want to open Darkness. I don't want to open Darkness because all you can get is a Charizard. I don't want to open Burning Shadows because all you can get is a Charizard. Sure, the Charizard is more valuable.
It's not necessarily true though. Like when you look at Darkness Blaze, like there's a few other rainbows that are really cheap, and then the full art trainers in the set suck. Whereas there's an Acerola and a Wick in Darkness Blaze that have value that are people actually want to chase after too. So it does have more than Darkness Ablaze, man.
I mean, maybe we can say that looking back on it because finally full art trainers are starting to go up in value. But initially at the time, like Wick cards, I mean, that card was like before we had full arts go up in value, that card was going for like $3 or $4. Like now it's starting to see relevance value, but also at the end of the day, who's going to say that people aren't going to look at the set of Darkness Ablaze and then all of a sudden say like, you know, Darkness Ablaze, sure, you know, the main hit is a Charizard, but it also has a Salamence cards that you can chase in, or it also has a Scissor or a Butter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think Marcus Scrapper hit it on the nose. I think Burning Shadows is more closer to Vivid because it's got that like that main chase card, that Chonkachu, and then it's got like some other full art trainer, like Pokemon Center Lady and like the full art peak. It's got a few other smaller hits. Whereas, dude, Darkness Blaze, like no one's chasing anything from that set. Like it's just not happening.
I mean, let me ask you this. I don't know how much
or it's closer to Champion's Path, like where there's actually a top tier Charizard hit. Like that Charizard just not even a top tier hit where it is in Burning Shadows.
I don't know. How much did you grow up with Burning Shadows?
Oh, I mean, that was one of the main sets I invested in Sun and Moon.
Cause when, but like not invested, I'm talking about like when the set came out.
I opened a good amount of it, probably less than Evolutions and Shining Legends, but I opened a good amount of it.
Cause like when Burning Shadows, the set itself came out, it was the exact same argument that people were making about that set as people are making now with Darkness.
Yeah, I agree. It was just a Charizard set. I get that.
Saying that Darkness is a better set because it's not. It's a garbage set. Darkness is a terrible set. If you look at my tier list ranking of Darkness when I made the video, I put it as arguably, I think it was second or third worst ever. So like, I am once again not trying to say Darkness is a good set, but I'm saying the general sentiment that people had for Darkness is the exact same sentiment that people had for Burning Shadows. I think it's a terrible set, but now everyone's going back and making excuses for Burning when Burning is still a god awful set. And now people are looking at it differently because they didn't experience opening it. If you experienced opening Burning Shadows in the way I did, you would hate that set from a burning passion. I remember opening so many Burning Shadows packs trying to chase the Charizard and not even getting a single rainbow. And then when I got my first rainbow, it was a Ho-Oh rainbow and it had a big gash out the back. And it was literally in like PSA 7 condition at best. I mean, you would probably say it's damaged. And so for me, it was like, God, this is a terrible, terrible set. This is awful. So for me, I guess where I'm coming from is I'm coming from the perspective of like, as time goes on, Darkness Ablaze, people are going to look back on that set and they're going to be like looking at it with like rose colored eyes being like, oh, maybe it wasn't that bad, which it is. It is that bad.
No,
it is that bad.
Stop.
Yes. Burning was awful. Burning was an awful
No,
set.
but no, you're missing one thing, right? No one was like there were people chasing it, but dude, Champion's Path came really soon after. And then Shining Fates, like, or Champion's Path before it, like people were chasing the other Charizards way more than they ever were chasing that Charizard. Dude, everyone wanted that Burning Shadows Charizard before Hidden Fates came out. Everyone, that was the card to have in the era. Like that's what makes Burning Shadows a thing, is there was that god tier, the best card in the era rarity, whereas Darkness Ablaze doesn't have that. Like you could argue that this point for Champion's Path.
So let me ask you this then. As far as it goes with the set right now, why do you think that Burning Shadows is performing as poor as it is compared to the other sets within that era?
Why do I think it's performing?
Because
Well,
like it's one of the boxes.
It was it was a popular open set, and they reprinted it a lot because it was getting open. It had the Charizard, whereas some of the other weaker sets didn't get as much print. Like things like Forbidden Light, things like Guardians Rising. Again, it got printed a ton, which is why it's like one of the lowest in the era. But then you have sets like Celestial Storm, or sets like Ultra Prism doing very well because they got lower prints. So I think that's what it has to do with.
Do you think Forbidden Light, or do you think that Burning Shadows is a better set?
Well, that's the question. That's the true question. Here, let me take a look.
Because that's how I see it. I see Vivid as being forbidden, and I see Darkness as being burning.
Forbidden Light.
That's how I look at the two sets.
I would put Vivid comparable to Burning, and this more comparable to Darkness. No, this doesn't. No, I don't think this is comparable to Darkness either, to be honest with you. I think Crimson Invasion is comparable to Darkness. Like Crimson Invasion has the Gyarados, and that's it. Like that's literally it. Let's see. Crimson Invasion has the Gyarados, and it's got the Lusamine too. So it actually, and the Olivia.
Do you see what I mean, dude? You're doing the rose-colored glasses for the freaking Crimson.
All right, fine. Let's take the full art trainers out of it. It would just have the Gyarados, and it's like a $30 near mint card. Yes. Dude, Crimson Invasion is Darkness Ablaze.
Dude, Crimson when it first came out, people were flash selling it for $65 a box.
Dude, Crimson is Darkness Ablaze in my mind.
That's how much Crimson was going for. That's the thing. But also here's another thing you also have to ask.
Vivid is very close to Burning Shadows. Like it's not as popular because it's Pikachu, not Charizard, but dude, that Rainbow Rare Chonkachu, that was like the card of the era before Alt Arts came out, just like that Charizard Rainbow was before Hidden Fates. I think Vivid is a very close comparison to Burning Shadows.
Why do you think Forbidden Light is more expensive than Burning Shadows? It's not that much more, but it's still more.
I think maybe. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. It would have to do with the prints. Maybe less people opened Burning Shadows because they invested in it, thinking that it was going to be the main attraction, and so there's more supply. Maybe.
I don't know. I guess my thing is like, here's the deal. Do I think Crimson is a better set than Burning Shadows? Or sorry, not Burning Shadows, than a better set than Darkness? Yes, I think that it is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I also love to crap on any set that has only a Charizard as the main pull.
If they were the same price, which one would you rather buy and open though?
If they were the same price,
It would have to be Burning Shadows, right?
you said an open?
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Like
hold on. Which boxes are you talking?
Burning in Darkness.
Can I use them both for fire? Like, can I like fuel them up for like a furnace? Is that like an experience? Like, I
Dude,
mean,
I just feel like the chase to pull that Charizard is so much better than the Burning Shadows chase.
oh yeah, because there's actually a card that's worth something in there that's going for
I mean,
400
even if it
bucks.
wasn't worth, I don't know.
But like I said, man, I'm not comparing the sets in the aspect of like saying that darkness is better than burning, because burning is a better set.
No, you
Just
think
like I think
Darkness
Crimson.
is gonna perform similar to Burning? You're saying
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes,
I just think it's a tall order to say it's gonna be a $400 box in another few years. I think that's a tall order for Darkness Ablaze.
Well, I don't know what you mean by another few years. It came out in 2017. That's 7 years from when it released. So
Right, but it's only 3 years older than Darkness Ablaze.
Right. So then that would mean that it would have to by end of 2027 is when the set would have to get up to 400 bucks.
That seems hard. Like I
Really?
think it's
That
closer.
seems hard to you? 3 years? You don't think Darkness could get to 400 bucks a box in 3 years?
I think it'll look a lot more like between like Crimson and Guardians Rising.
How much is Crimson actually going for right now?
It's like just over 200. I think maybe like Guardians. What's Guardians Rising at? That's what I would think.
I think that's 3 or yeah, that's a good question to ask.
Oh, Guardians Rising is actually high.
Yeah, it's going for it's going for 600.
Well, no, there's only been sales like around 390, 400.
That's still, I mean, it's still 400 then. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
Crimson,
I mean, all right,
Crimson
I'll call $300 a box.
Crimson is going for $200 a box.
I'll say in between 200 to 300 for Darkness in 3 years, man. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
You don't see it?
No. I don't see it.
Man, I think that, okay, well, how about this? Do you think Vivid could hit 400 a box in 3 years?
I think that's hard too.
Really?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I think there's been a shift in the market and people are kind of sick of that copy paste full art artwork, that full art rainbow gold all have the same exact art, just big giant picture of a card. I think people have really moved to the alt art SIR style of liking the art in the card and the scene. I think people just want those cards, and I think that's going to hurt a lot of the sets with not those chases not in them. And so like with XY, at least they have megas, so it might help some of those sets. But obviously Sun and Moon tag teams, obviously alt art sets, like I think it's going to be harder for the lower performing sets to do well. Now, obviously I think they're all going to rise over time just because attrition from the market, people have to collect the booster boxes. Some will get opened. I just see it at a lower rate than before on the weak sets.
I don't know. I think that I feel for 400 a box, I feel much more confident in Vivid hitting 400. I feel confident. I feel much more confident in that. I feel less confident in Darkness hitting that. I feel like Darkness, I think Darkness will hit 300. I think it'll hit 300. I don't think it's going to be 200 though. I don't think it's that low. It's at 140 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Like when Crimson came out, even during the pandemic, the entire pandemic, it was still at distributor pages. It didn't go out of stock from distributor pages until like 2021, after the pandemic had gone in full swing for a year. So like, I guess for me, that's another thing I look at when I see Crimson. I say distro was flash selling Sword and Shield era product, and yet it still couldn't move Crimson.
The real question is how much
like burning through, like it was like dumping it, but they were still couldn't get rid of Crimson.
The question is how much are you buying?
Oh, are you talking about a Vivid
or Darkness?
Well, how about this? Do you want to make a friendly wager on Vivid?
Always, dude.
Always make a friendly wager on Vivid. All right, what do you want the wager to be?
Well, here, since we like speculating in the future, I'll bet you a box of the set that comes out in like 3.5 years, like that box.
What does that even mean?
No, just because everyone likes to speculate on these stupid new sets, like that'll be. I'll bet you whatever booster box is released in 3 years. That
Okay, how about this? How about
bet
this? Here's a fun bet, right? So I would say that I think Vivid is going to get 400. What do you think Vivid's going to get to?
I mean, that's reasonable. I mean, that's a good price point. I like that.
So you think it'll hit 400?
I have to go over under that.
Do you think? Yeah. What do you think it'll hit in 3 years? Do you think? Because I think by we'll say
I'll go under. I'll take under.
Like how much under?
Oh, that's hard, man. 350.
That's not that much under. Then we're not that far off. Then
no, I agree with you on Vivid. I'm just not on board with Darkness. I think that's so trash.
You don't think Darkness will hit 300?
I don't like sets that are trash and they've been heavily printed. Like, I'm cool if it's trash, but it's not heavily printed. I'm cool with it.
But Darkness wasn't heavily printed. It was not heavily printed. Darkness ran up.
It got, dude. It's same thing that's happening to Japanese right now, dude. It got reprinted at the end of the pandemic when the hype was coming down. That's brutal.
But the thing is, though, is that Darkness Ablaze was at $200 a box because of its scarcity, and then it got a reprint, and because there wasn't that much on the market as it was, the price got affected because there was already so few. So kind of like the example I gave with the Swampert, there's less of the Swampert, and so when more came on the market, it affected the price. And so I think that with Darkness, it's the exact same thing that happened where it was already really scarce, and as it was, it got a small print, but it was still a small print for a set that was very scarce. And so the price corrected because the demand of the set was artificially pumped up by the supply. So for me, I still think that there's way less Darkness than people realize. It's just being held down in price because the demand for the set is extremely low. So I wouldn't make necessarily an argument that, oh, it's being suppressed by its price because there's so much more out there. I'm like, nah, dude, the set's doing bad because it sucks.
So you're thinking Darkness is going to be at 400 too?
I feel good about 300. I think 300 for sure. That's why I would.
I'd be the same way. I'd probably be at like 250 on that. I'm like, we're near each other.
We're like $50 off. Yeah, I think it'll be over 3. Because I don't know. I guess I look at like Lost Thunder, and I'm not like, how do I want to say this? I'm not comparing Lost Thunder necessarily to Vivid in the same way, because like, but at the same time, man, it's hard not to, because I look at those two sets and I say to myself, Lost Thunder was a set that like people were crapping on because they were like, oh, it's just a Lugia set. No one really cares about it. Like, sure, you've got a Suicune, sure, you've got a Mimikyu. But now all of a sudden, like, everyone looks at Lost Thunder and goes, dude, that set's got a Lugia and it's got a Suicune and it's got a Mimikyu. Like, the sentiment switched up so fast. And when I remember when Vivid first came out, like, everyone was hyping up Vivid so much because of the Amazing Rares. Like, everyone was freaking out about the Amazing Rares. But then the minute Amazing Rare prices went down because they started to become more accessible with like people getting Vivid product, all of a sudden the sentiment switched. But I guarantee you, if you were to see a price increase of Amazing Rares go up to like $20 to $30 per Amazing Rare, everyone would change their sentiment immediately on how they see Vivid as a set. And so I guess that's kind of where it's hard, because right now we're looking at Vivid and seeing the price of the Amazing Rares and a lot of cards and saying this set sucks because there's nothing to chase. But if the Amazing Rares went up in value in the same way that a lot of the Rainbows did from Lost Thunder, then people would see it as a set where there's more than just chasing the Lugia that you could potentially hit. I don't know. That's how I look at it, because that's it. Like, people, it's like Twilight Masquerade, right? We looked at Twilight Masquerade, and the minute we saw the Greninja being something we're chasing,
I was on the other side of this. I was on the side that I thought it was a good set.
My bad. A lot of the people that were expecting Twilight to not do good was because the Greninja card itself was not anticipated to be going for over $200. But of course, the minute that the card itself went up to over $200, a lot of the sentiment changed into the success of how the item is going to perform because of the card value.
Yeah, I mean, I like Temporal and Twilight just because the pull rates are so hard. There's chase cards, and the SIRs are basically the same rarity to hit per card as the alt arts are. Like, alt arts are harder to hit in terms of overall alt arts, but specific alt arts, like such as like the Giratina, Lugia, those are less hard to hit than the Greninja is, which I like that. So I think that helps.
I mean, yeah, rarity helps, but let's be real here. What is rarity realistically driving up?
Well, it's driving the opening. People,
it's driving the price of the card up because it's harder to pull.
right, and which takes away supply from the market, people chasing it, which makes the supply of the boxes dry up, which raises those. So I like that.
Right. And so I guess to my point in me saying that is like the value of the set itself is the scarcity of it, which is what people enjoy when it comes to chasing the set because it's hard to hit the Greninja, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying with that is if the value of the Greninja was less, because let me put it this way. If you could pull the Greninja in the same way you would pull any of like the first 3 or 4 sets SIRs, would that change your opinion on Twilight? I feel like it's a pretty easy answer.
Say it one more time.
So the Greninja pull rate, right? If it was just as easy to pull as like the first 4 sets in Scarlet and Violet, would that change your opinion on the set?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So it's not necessarily you're like, oh man, I think the set's great because the Greninja is an amazing artwork. It's, hey, the Greninja is a chase card that's worth pulling because it's harder to pull. And obviously with that, it's more valuable. So I guess what I'm saying is like the value of the cards themselves are going to predict what people think of the specific set. I guarantee you, if that Darkness Ablaze Charizard was going for $300 right now or $200 right now, people would be looking at that set completely different.
But that's the issue. Eli is like, look at every set. There's no like that low of a rarity card going for that much in any set. Like, it's the top stuff. Like in XY, secret rares or megas, whatever, those were the top pools. Those are the top cards, right? In Sun and Moon, the top cards are like the rainbows, the tag teams. Like, you don't see a regular VMAX anywhere near any. So that's the issue. It doesn't have a top rarity card. It doesn't have a top rarity Charizard.
Right. But I guess I was saying
like
that.
Pikachu and Vivid Voltage, that's a top rarity. So that makes sense.
Well, I guess I was saying that more in reference to the amazing rares with Vivid, because the amazing rares with Vivid are ones that the Rayquaza at one point was going for like $50. Like, it was going for so much money.
It's still worth a few bucks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is people look at things in value perspective of I want to chase something. And right now you're seeing the value of Vivid be kind of taken away because it's the Chunkachu and nothing else. But if some time in the future, amazing rares all of a sudden start to see a resurgence in the same way that full arts did, I think that's when you're going to see the biggest pickup in Vivid Voltage price because amazing rares are going to be appreciated all of a sudden.
It could happen.
So I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of the general scarcity of like Vivid. But you think it'll hit 350? I think it'll 400. That's not really that's not a big difference though in terms of.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, no, it's not a big difference. But yeah, I don't know, man. We'll have to see. But let me ask you this. So take Darkness out of it. Do you think Vivid's a terrible set? Like, are you like very anti-Vivid?
I mean, you kind of have to be, don't you?
I don't think it's that bad. I think it's bad.
Comparable to Burning Shadows. I really do. I mean, they both have a top chase card. They both have a couple like smaller hits, and then everything else is like basically trash. I don't know.
Yeah,
it seems very similar to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's maybe just me looking at the amazing rares. That's kind of how I look at it. But
yeah, I mean those could do something.
Yeah, because that's why I don't see them as the same. I look at Vivid as a better set because it has the amazing rares. But But
For sure.
but who knows? All
I
right,
could look off and came back, y'all still talking. Hell yeah, man, we're here all night.
I know. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to change is what the price is going to be. That's the only we'll know when we know. This
Yeah.
isn't like and I'll keep saying it because I'm probably going to be taken out of context as always. But like, I'm not an apologist for either set. I'm just saying that as time goes on, people, it's kind of like a high school reunion. When you are I mean, I don't know what your high school experience is, but I would say that most people like did not enjoy high school. But then when you hear they're doing a high school reunion, a lot of people will be like, "Oh man, I remember high school and all the great times." And then when you go meet your high school buddies, you're like, or not buddies, but like people from high school, you're like, "Man, I forgot how much I hated high school. This is awful."
You
But
hated high school?
God, yes, of course.
Dude.
No, you
No,
enjoyed high school?
I did.
Maybe it's not
did.
comparable.
I
I
did.
don't know. I guess the point that I was making is like time changes the perspective of how people view things because of
For
nostalgia.
sure. Yeah.
And so that's where for me, I'm not making the argument that Darkness Ablaze and Vivid are good sets. I'm making the argument that as time goes on, people are going to look on the sets more fondly and hate on it less. That's all I mean.
Yeah, I got it. No, I mean,
Can we
that's
turn our
like,
hats backwards? Yeah.
Rudy talks about it all the time. It's just like it's the same exact item, and you have all these crazy, ups and downs on. It's like it's the same item every day, but every day there's different rhetoric, there's different like thoughts about it, there's different prices, and the item never changes. So like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, because I look at battle styles in that same regard, right? Like if you look at a set like Battle Styles is a set that I mean, it's kind of hard for me not to like because I'm a huge Gen 1 or a Gen 4 fan. So I love the Empoleon and I've always loved the T-Tar art design. But I mean, it's one that has been crapped on for the longest time because of the sentiment around battle styles. But now that alternate arts are starting to perform better, the sentiment shift on battle styles has changed drastically. I mean, let's be real here. I guarantee you, if I were to say which would you prefer to hold of the three, you would definitely say battle styles, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But yet, during that time when battle styles came out, people were arguing and saying battle styles was a worse set than the other two, saying it was an awful set, even with alt arts. But that's because during the time, alt arts weren't seen in the same way they are right now. Like alt arts, they're the new hotness. And then when waifus became hot, then waifus were the new hotness, and then tag teams were the new hotness. At some point, there's gonna be a new hotness for rainbows, and the Pikachu is gonna do something. Or
Dude, I'm telling you, someone said in the chat, and I heard the same exact thing in my card shop. Like literally, they said, yeah, the kids always come in. I like the little kids, they always want the rainbows. They always ask to see the rainbows. So like, it is a thing. Maybe 10, 15 years, and those kids have money, they might come back and get the rainbows.
Yeah, how do I want to say this? I never necessarily hated rainbows. I hated pulling, and then you saw the sliver at the top right corner of like the rainbow like texturing, and then you think it's an alt art, and then it's a rainbow. That's what I always hated from an opening perspective. That's what I always was frustrated about. But I don't know.
I never enjoyed them. I mean, like I said, I see it as a copy paste, like full art, gold, rainbow, snap, snap, snap. Like it's so boring. I don't know.
But wouldn't that be kind of the biggest argument against Hidden Fates?
Yeah, and that's why when I made my tier list, I didn't put Hidden Fates as an S tier set, is because
damn.
Yeah, it's just because like again, we've shifted in this market where people want unique artwork. They don't just want the copy paste of a Pokemon full art, make it shiny looking, or a whole set of shinies. And I think that's the argument why Paladin Fates could actually do a little better, is because it does have SIRs, like it does have other artworks, and they didn't make it all about the full art shinies. There's a few of them, and then it also has the golden green cards. Then it does have the baby shiny still. It's got a lot of variety, whereas Hidden Fates, it's just pages of full art shinies, and they threw some full arts in there, but it's just full art shinies and rainbows, man.
But I feel like that just makes, but this is the reality of history, right? And maybe this is the true argument why Fossil and Jungle are going to perform poorly long term, is what you're saying is just Hidden Fates being a victim of its time. because everyone is looking at, base set and they're like, oh, I can only pull hollows. Like, I don't care about hollows, right? Oh, I don't care about hollows from jungle or fossil, right? But then if you look at like Hidden Fates, like, oh, Hidden Fates is a lazy set. They just, created like full art versions, and there's not an alternate art you can.
Well, it was the first though. That's why I did well. It was the first.
Yeah,
It was the
but
first
like
Shining.
I said
So
before, that's
you could
what
say
I mean.
you could say Shining Fates and Paldean Fates are more lazy, but no, I think Hidden Fates, because it was unique at the time, that's why it was loved so much. So
That's what I mean. It's a victim of its time because it was the first and it was innovative and it was exciting and that was a fun thing to do. But now that alternate arts are a thing, it's seen as lazy. But in reality, it wasn't, because we're comparing it to nowadays, right? Like, who knows? In the future, we could have holographic alt arts, right? Like, all of a sudden, like, you could have the card be lenticular or some crazy thing, right? And then we're gonna look back at alt arts and be like, oh, dude, alt arts were just a rip off of what they did with tag team. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
always something new that's going to change the landscape of how things are looked at. It's always interesting. But yeah, it does also have a lot of really good characters that you can pull also in Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates has a ton of amazing characters you can pull. So
no, it's still an amazing set. Like, it's just, when you look back, it's just like, is it as good as like a Cosmic Eclipse? I don't think so.
Well, of course. Yeah, well, I don't know. I feel like that really comes down to personal preference. I love Cosmic, and Cosmic is my favorite set of all time, but that's also
That's where I put it. I put it number 1 over Evolving and Crown Zenith.
How many
and honestly, and the majority of the comments on that video all agreed about it. Like, there were some that said, I think Crown or I think Evolving, but a lot of people agreed with Cosmic being number 1.
How many Gen 6 cards are in Cosmic?
I mean, Cosmic, dude, it has the character gallery, or like all the other sets don't have that. And then on top of it, it also has crazy amounts of tag teams.
Crazy
amounts of tag. That Reshiram, or that Solgaleo Lunala, and also that Reshiram Zekrom card with the N, and also with who is that? Who's the one in? Is it Lily? But like, yeah, those cards are beautiful. And you got red and blue Pikachu or Blastoise Piplup. You got your waifus. You got your Arceus Algapalkia, Stone Sculpture. You also have Charizard Braixen. The rainbows of the Reshiram Zekrom Solgaleo Lunala. Those are some of the most beautiful. Like, if I was going to collect rainbows, those are the two I would collect. They show the color the best. And then you go into the trainer gallery, and it's just like, you got the Pikachu. I just think it's such a deep set. It's got the tag. It's got everything going for it, in my opinion.
So you like the set not because you're a Gen 6 D-Gen. It's just because you like how deep the set is.
I like how deep the set is. I think the arts are all great. Even like the regular tag team arts just crush like any of the full art VMAX cards you'll see in like Evolving Skies. Not the alt arts, just like the regular full art VMAX or regular Vs. Like, it's just the regular hits in this set crush the regular hits in those other sets, in my opinion. Like Crown Zenith, you could argue, is really deep as well. But I think Evolving Skies, what it lacks is having a trainer gallery, and that's why it doesn't get the top spot, in my opinion.
Where'd you put Crown Zenith?
3. I put it behind Evolving, but it could go either, dude. Those 3 are just so interchangeable. It's hard. I think pretty many people agree that those 3 sets are the top 3, though.
Yeah.
I'm definitely willing to hear arguments for any one of those to be like put in a different slot. Like, I'm not like married to it. It's just my personal opinion. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious though. Those 3 are up there.
Yeah. I guess for me, I've just always been a D-Gen for Gen 4 and 5. So it's got all of that. That's all that, I mean, it's got a lot of Gen 1 and, Gen 6 and 7 cards, but like, which is why it's such a popular set. But at least for me personally, I've always been a huge fan because it's like Arceus Dialga card, Zekrom, Reshiram, Lord N card. Like, it's got the Misty Piplup card, or not Misty, sorry, the Dawn Piplup card. I'm like, dude, it's got so many good Gen 4 and 5 cards. It's insane. So,
I mean, even like some of the regular tag teams look better than the full art alt art tag teams. Like, the set's just so beautiful. You'll go to like page 3, page 4, and you're still finding cards that you're like, damn, that's a beautiful card,
Yeah. No, 1000%. Dude, we've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I know, man. You gotta get going.
Yeah, I got freaking be at the shop, man. Is there any other questions that you want to take that are of relevancy? I feel like a lot of people tuned out after we went for 25 minutes talking about Darkness and Vivid. Probably half an hour, honestly.
We always got to do something to piss people off.
Always. There's always that one thing that just drones on for too long. That is just a long freaking debate. Hey, man, at least that's good, though, because at least we have some sort of thing that we don't agree on with everything.
Well, that was like I think it was your average player, maybe. Like someone said, like, you guys need to like kiss and make up already. It's just like, dude, I don't. Yeah, it was your average player. It's just like, dude, what do people want? Do you want to sit here and just like agree and like, you know, say the same thing the whole time? Do you want us to have any kind of debate? Like, what do you guys want? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question. I know.
We're trying to make this entertaining for you all.
Yeah, I think we should start with a script and we should just stick to it. And it's just us agreeing the entire time about everything. Here's a question someone asked. Do you think the Pokemon company, if they don't reprint 151, could cause people to FOMO into other less popular sets? No.
Dude, no. If we go another year and a half and there's no reprint on 151, those ETBs could be like $150, $200.
No, I don't think so. I think that I think you have to understand that people don't look at it as intensely as we do when it comes to print runs. Like people aren't sitting there and saying, oh my gosh, 151 never got a reprint. Let me start to speculate. Only like intense hardcore investors really follow that kind of stuff. So I think the general market is not going to look at that as intensely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even like, that's not even in my mind. I just know they're going to reprint it at this point. Like there's no way, right?
There is a way, but it's very unlikely. I mean, if we look at specialty set print history, I mean, I think Pokemon Go is the only one. But actually, that's not true. Pokemon Go, I think, did get a small print.
Here, I'll put it this way.
Actually, I don't think it did. I don't think Pokemon Go got a small print. I don't think it did.
I'll put 151 not getting a reprint right up there with Sword and Shield era getting another reprint. That's the likelihood I put it at. So very low.
Wait. Hold on. Say that again.
I put the likelihood of 151 not getting another reprint.
Okay.
Is like Sword and Shield getting another reprint.
No, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess for me, I look at it and I'm like, I compare it to Shining Fates and Crown Zenith, whereas like Crown Zenith has already gotten another print and Shining Fates had 3 prints. It had its initial wave, reprint. So for me, I'm like, the specialty sets are printed so much. I mean, sure, it's already gotten one. So you could say it's like going to be a evolving incident where, you know, it gets a reprint and then that's it. But like, it's a specialty ETB set. I don't think it's going to have the same standard in the same way. That's how I look at it, at least.
Yeah, and the 151 UPCs you're seeing in Costco, those are like a separate deal that they're made with Pokemon. 151 UPCs were not, they haven't been reprinted recently in distributors. So
yeah, you saw that with the Costco UPCs, man. Yeah,
my Costco, of course, in Missouri never gets them, so it's like.
One of the guys locally said he saw it that you could order it online and have it be delivered.
You can, but there's not. I mean, as far as I know, I mean, maybe Costco accepts reseller permits, but I don't know if they do. So after tax, you're at $95 plus a UPC, so it's not 80, it's not 90. Like people don't account for that. Whereas, like, you know, if you're buying other places that don't have tax, you know, it's a lot different.
Yeah, 1000%. That's a good point. But all right, last question, then we'll wrap it up here because we've been going on forever. The first set of SV get reprinted. Do you think there's any chance they change pull rates? I know, especially with specialty sets, it's often assumed pull rates have changed between runs.
Maybe, you know, I haven't seen any data supporting it, right? I've seen a lot of people alluding to it, a lot of people, you know, saying they've seen a change, but I don't know if there's been any strong data like, okay, we're going to open, you know, 10,000 packs or however many boxes on first print. We're going to open the same amount on second print and we're going to compare the data. If it's out there, feel free to share it with me. I don't think it's ever been done. So I don't think it's like concrete proof that happens.
I think that it's
There's batching issues. There's batching issues. Like maybe your part of the country got a worse batch or something. But I just don't think it's proven on the pull rates.
Well, I had one person come in and it was like, "Are you selling Evolving Skies boosters?" And I'm like, "I've got a couple." And he's like, "Are they from print 1 and print 2?" And I'm like, "Probably print 2." And he's like, "Oh, dang, I only wanted print 1." And I'm like, "Why does it matter?" And he's like, "Because pull rates were easier with print 1." And I had to explain to him, like, "Dude, that's not like what? Like that's so crazy to me that people go that deep into it." I'm like, dude, as someone that opened both prints, I can tell you firsthand they are the same from my personal experience. Now, I've obviously not opened tens of thousands evolving. I've opened several thousand evolving, but like I would say that people put too much stock into like first or second like print waves. I would argue that it's more important to look at the overall just print of the set as a whole, because if you're looking at Twilight, we know that Twilight's obviously really difficult for pull rates. If we look at the back half of Sword and Shield era sets with trainer galleries, we know that that is obviously something that is harder to pull alternate arts. I don't know what your experience was in terms of opening, but every new set I would always open at least 2 cases of booster boxes, or sorry, yeah, 2 cases of booster boxes. I did it for Brilliant. I pulled 1 alternate art, and it was the Luminion. And then for Lost Origin, I pulled 1 alternate art, and it was the Meowth. And that was through 2 cases. So my alternate pull rates for those 2 sets were terrible. But for Astral and Silver, I pulled at least 1 per every like 2 to 3 boxes. So it was better. So it's like, maybe it's just me, but I look at it on like a set by set basis more than anything. But ultimately, it's also hard to say because some people are going to have much better experiences with other sets than others. I mean, it's so speculative.
Yeah, I mean, market scrapper print quality could change. That's 100%. Like if they come
No,
out with
that's different. Yeah.
Paldea Evolve reprint and the print quality is way better, that Magikarp is gonna tank, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a thing. But like I said, hey, maybe we should all like get a bunch of people to donate for science, and like that way we could do it. We could all have everyone in the community donate some money, and we could do it on camera, and we could open a first print like 10 cases, of a second print 10 cases, and compare and contrast. Because I truly don't think there's much different.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
But there's people in chat, right? Crypto Cole says there's 100. He says 100%. He's not even saying 99. 100% different pull rates. That's crazy. That's a crazy claim to make, man.
Interesting.
Like, because there's batching issues. Like, okay, you could open up, a few cases of Crown Zenith and get like the same glaring galleries like every case. You could pull like the same, 10, relatively the same glaring gallery, and then you could open 3 more cases and you can get a bunch of the gold cards. It doesn't mean the print's different. It just means like some of the batch had these and these, the batch had these and those. Like, it's really hard to say their worst print or pull rates as opposed to just different pull rates, right? Different cards are being pulled.
Yeah.
Because it'd be like opening Hidden Fates. Like, did you just not pull like the Charizard and like the Espeons and stuff, or did you just not pull any full art? Like that's a different thing, right? Because like if you still pulled relatively the same amount of full art shinies, that means the pull rates didn't change. It's just you got a batch issue where you didn't get any of the high value pulls in there, right? Because I mean, I doubt they're just like picking and choosing. Okay, don't print the Evolutions, the Charizard, or the Mewtwo. Print a lot more of these ones. Like I just don't see them doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that I think people look into it too much.
I think people, it makes sense, get frustrated when you open things and you just don't pull what you're looking for, or don't have good boxes. Like here, out of the same case, I've had a Brilliant Stars box that had 10 hits in it. 10 hits, right? And the best hit was a Pikachu full art. Okay? Full art V. And then I opened another box and it had the alt art Charizard. It had the Umbreon VMAX, had the Sylveon V, had all kinds of crazy hits. And it's like same boxes, same case. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like there's not really much more to say. I don't really have much else to say in terms of this topic. I feel like it's over talked about too much. I think you can talk about regional pull rates being a thing. You can talk about, batching errors being a thing, but I don't think there's really any clear, concise evidence that we can at least pull on, because most of the time it's all speculative. So I don't know. But any other question you want to touch on before we head on out here, brother?
Dude, I think this was a good stream. I think
it was a long stream. So I mean, we had about half an hour of debate and then the rest 2 hours of conversing. So hopefully a lot of people got value out of the entire stream. So
shameless plug for everyone still here. If you want to participate in some pack battles tonight, Nostalgianomics at 7 p.m. You can gamble on it.
Time for some pack battles. But yeah, guys, if you want to check out Alex over Nostalgianomics, as always, link is down in the description below. And then if you want to support the channel here, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. And lastly, if you want to get access to Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, much more at wholesale prices, links down in the description below. Got questions or want to be a part of the community, Discord link is also there as well. But that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Peace.